Chapter 11:20. Yang Chung had just thought of this and wanted to go to the hospital to have a look. However, he was worried that other assassins would suddenly appear in the house. If he was not there, Eun-young might not be able to protect Shinshio and Lin Ruashi. Although Lin Ruashi had true chi at the peak of the acquired stage, she lacked actual combat experience. If the other party had guns, it would be extremely dangerous. At this moment, in the opposite room, Lin Ruashi suddenly shouted, "Hubby, there's a call. It's for you." Yang Chung had an ominous feeling in his heart. He walked back to the room and picked up the phone. "Mr. Yang, I really admire your skills. I can't believe you're still alive." An unfamiliar man's voice came from the other end of the phone. "People from North Bio, it seems that you're more powerful than I thought. You can actually guess our origins." The man smiled strangely. Yang Chung sighed. "Tell me, what do you want now? Maybe you don't know this, but before you return to the Park family's mansion, we've already prepared a lot of gifts for you in the hospital and at home." The man laughed sinisterly. "Mr. Yang's ability is really amazing. In order to not suffer too much, we have to give you some special treatment. Don't tell me you've buried explosives in the hospital and at home." This was the first trick that came to Yang Cheng's mind. Bingo! The man seemed quite excited. Enough to blow up the entire inpatient area of the hospital and the entire Park family's mansion. How about it? Isn't it exciting? Yang Chung pinched the bridge of his nose and muttered to himself, "Do you Koreans learn how to play the underworld from the movies? Don't you know that this kind of trick is very old-fashioned?" Old-fashioned? So what? As long as it works." The man laughed cruelly. "Mr. Yang, if you don't want everyone in the room to be blown up, especially your womenfolk, Miss Su Jinxiu and the others, and you don't want the entire hospital's inpatient department to be buried with you, you better listen to us. If you wish to test our courage, you may come out with the rest of the house." Yang Chung snickered in his heart. Truth be told, even if an explosion were to happen, he had a way to protect Lin Ruashi and Jinxiu in an instant. As for the people in the hospital in Park Chion's condition, why would he care? From a certain point of view, Park Chion was safe. He just did not know that he had fallen into a trap. Yang Chung pondered for a moment before coming up with a plan. "How do you want me to cooperate?" "It's very simple. Right now, there's a black Hyundai car outside the Park family's residence. All you need to do is drive that car and come to the Myeongdong Hotel. There will naturally be someone to welcome you." Yang Chung readily agreed. After hanging up the phone, he waved at Lin Ruashi. Lin Ruashi was curious. "What's going on? Is it someone from North Bio?" Yang Chung chuckled and whispered a few words into the woman's ear. After listening, Lin Ruashi frowned. "Will this work?" "That will depend on my dear General Lin's acting skills. I believe that since you've been able to fool me so many times, you're definitely an Oscar-worthy actress." Yang Chung winked. Lin Ruashi rolled her eyes at him and nodded. "Then be careful. Don't make any mistakes." Yang Chung reached out and caressed the woman's face before turning around and walking out of the door. "Where are you going, Brother Yang?" Jinxiu asked curiously. Lin Ruashi looked worried. "It's the organization that sent the assassins. They said that they've set up explosives here and in the hospital. If Yang Chung doesn't meet them according to their request, they'll blow us all up." "What?" Jinxiu cried out. "How can you do that?" But it was too late to stop Yang Chung. Yang Chung had already gotten into a Hyundai sedan outside the door. The dozens of Park family bodyguards were already guarding Jinxiu inside the house. They had no time to care about Yang Cheng's actions. They only stopped Jinxiu from moving. Yang Chung had already started the Hyundai and was heading south of the street. Just as the taillights of the car were about to disappear from the intersection, a horrifying sound came from inside the house. Boom! A flash of fire shot up into the sky from the direction of the car. Jinxiu ignored the bodyguards and rushed to the door. She saw that Yang Cheng's car had been turned into a pile of burning scrap metal. "Oh no, there's a bomb in the car!" Eun-young cried out. "Brother Yang!" Jinxiu screamed, and tears immediately streamed down her face. She looked at the fire in despair, and her body seemed to freeze on the spot. Although Jinxiu knew that Yang Chung was extremely skilled, she could not imagine that someone could survive such a car's fuel tank explosion. Lin Ruashi also stood on the side with a pale face. She staggered as if she was too grief-stricken to make a sound. Many nearby houses began to light up because the sound of the car explosion was too shocking. Just then, two black Chevrolet SUVs stopped in front of the Park family's mansion. More than a dozen men in black suits and big sunglasses, holding automatic rifles in their hands, swept into the house like a black whirlwind. Intimidated by this group of fiendish men in black, the bodyguards quickly retreated. One of the bodyguards suddenly remembered that he still had a gun on his waist. He was about to pull out when he heard a few shots. Before he could pull out his gun, the bodyguard had already fallen to the ground. This made the other bodyguards afraid to pull out their guns. They were afraid that they would be the first to be shot. After all, the other party's weapons were obviously much more violent. Eun-young stood in front of Jinxiu in a panic. "Who the hell are you?" The man with dyed yellow hair who was walking at the front grinned. "You don't need to know. Everyone, put your hands up and lean against the wall. We just want to take Su Jinxiu away." Jinxiu, who was still in extreme grief, turned a deaf ear to him and kept wiping her tears. Lin Ruashi could tell that this man was the guy who called Yang Chung. "Don't even think about it. Everyone protect Miss. Don't let them succeed." Eun-young shouted at all the bodyguards. However, the bodyguards looked at each other a few times and silently walked to the wall. It was obvious that they wanted to save their lives. The other servants were naturally even more timid. They had already gone to the corner of the wall and squatted. You've wasted the master's good treatment on you. Are you even human? Are you worthy of Mr. Yang's sacrifice?" Eun-young was so angry that her eyes turned red. She gritted her teeth and said, "Miss Jinxiu, quickly run from the back door. Quick." But Jinxiu was indifferent, as if she had completely given up on her life. Lin Ruashi saw this scene from the side and couldn't help but feel a pain in her heart. Did Jinxiu become like this because she thought that Yang Chung was no longer here? Was Yang Chung that important in her heart? What a troublesome woman. We always kill as little as possible. But since you're courting death, then don't blame us. Brothers, go. As soon as the voice fell, the three men rushed forward with their rifles. As long as Eun-young fought back, the men would definitely shoot without hesitation. Eun-young's eyes revealed a trace of determination. She protected Jinxiu behind her and rushed toward the three men regardless of everything. Courting death. The two men immediately pulled the trigger. Two bullets flew everywhere, and even the chandelier in the hall began to shake due to the vibration. The servants couldn't bear to close their eyes, but the next scene made them all hold their breath, and their eyeballs almost fell to the ground. They only saw Eun-young get up and fly over, and with a roundhouse kick, she kicked the three men to the ground. Not only did the bullets from the two guns fly to the ceiling, the bullets were clearly aimed at Eun-young. So how did they fly away? Even Jinxiu, who had regained her senses, felt that it was inconceivable. Only Lin Ruashi, who was at the side, looked around helplessly. But Eun-young didn't care so much. She was already planning to fight with her life, so she had no time to care about such a fluke. "I'm going to kill you all." Eun-young's speed increased to the extreme. The lightness of a woman, coupled with the powerful leg skills of a black belt in Taekwondo, made her look like a fast-moving hammer. Bang, bang. After continuously kicking two strong men, she rushed toward the yellow-haired man. "Everyone shoot!" The yellow-haired man shouted, and began to shoot at Eun-young in a group. But before these bullets could touch Eun-young, they all flew up to the ceiling as if they were attracted by some kind of force. Before the group of men could react, Eun-young had already used her slender legs that were wearing high heels to kick the heads of these men until they bled. Some even stabbed their heels into their temples and died instantly. Originally, these people weren't that bad. Most of them had practiced some Korean martial arts or some martial arts from some sections. But they were all relying on the power of their guns, so they didn't have the time to fight with Eun-young. By the time they realized that the bullets were trapping them, it was already too late for them to fight. After Eun-jong kicked the group of people to the ground, she glanced at the mess in front of her in shock. Then, she looked at herself in disbelief. She was very puzzled. How did she suddenly beat a group of people with guns to the ground? The yellow-haired man felt like he had seen a ghost. He held his injured waist as he crawled backward, trying to escape from the house. Ghost! There's a ghost in here. The man was on the verge of a mental breakdown. This was simply a supernatural event. But just as the man was about to step out of the door, his head hit something hard. The man turned around stiffly. It was Yang Cheng, smiling and waving at him. He had knocked into Yang Cheng's leg. "Hi, I'm back. Ghost." The yellow-haired man sucked in a breath of cold air. His eyes rolled back, and he completely fainted. Yang Cheng was a little depressed. But before he could say anything, he heard Jinxiu scream from inside the house. She ran over like a gust of wind and jumped up to hug him. "Brother Yang, sob sob. I knew you wouldn't die, sob." The girl cried. When she saw Yang Cheng, it was as if the end of the world had been saved. Yang Cheng patted the girl's back embarrassedly. "Why are you crying when I'm dead? Why are you crying when I'm not dead?" Jinxiu didn't care about anything. She raised her head and kissed Yang Cheng on the face. Yang Cheng was dizzy. He turned his head stiffly to look at Lin Ruoshi in the house. He shrugged helplessly and smiled bitterly. "You saw it. It was Jinxiu who kissed me. I didn't ask her to kiss me." Chapter 11:21. Lin Ruoshi knew that Yang Cheng had deliberately killed himself, so she wasn't too excited. However, Jinxiu's heartfelt affection for Yang Cheng was a mess. Jinxiu seemed to feel that it wasn't appropriate to kiss Yang Cheng in front of Lin Ruoshi. She quickly stepped aside, wiped her tears, and glanced at Lin Ruoshi in embarrassment. "Sister Ruoshi, I was just too excited. I didn't mean anything by it." Yang Cheng thought to himself, "Aren't you making things worse?" Lin Ruoshi forced a smile. "I didn't say anything. He's so smelly. You can kiss him if you want." "Hey, don't slander me. We're lying on the same bed. How can you say that I'm smelly?" Yang Cheng was having none of it. Lin Ruoshi felt a headache coming on. This man still had the mind to care about such things. She pointed at the yellow-haired man who was unconscious on the ground. "You should figure out what these people are here for. We're not sure what's going on in the hospital. Also, are there explosives buried under this house? Do you even need to think about it? The explosives are definitely not buried. Since they tampered with the car, the explosives must be a ruse to lure me into driving. Besides, burying explosives is a technical job. It takes time, and they don't have the time or the skills. I just wanted them to jump out on their own. That's why I put on this show. Since they're here to capture Jinxiu and not to kill Jinxiu, it means that President Park Cheon in the hospital will be fine. Otherwise, there's no point in capturing Jinxiu. The only use is to threaten President Park Cheon. If there's an assassin in the hospital, we should have received the news by now." Unjong, who was still in a daze, finally couldn't help but ask, "Mr. Yang, you aren't you?" Yang Cheng raised an eyebrow at the maid. "You're pretty good at Taekwondo. Do you think I'm dead?" I'm lucky. What should we do next?" Lin Ruoshi asked. "Of course we're going to find the mastermind. Do you know where they are?" Yang Cheng curled his lips and said, "Although I can't be 100% sure, this guy told me on the phone that it was the Ming Dong Hotel. If he wanted to deceive me and kill me, it's unlikely that he would deliberately make up a fake location for me to go there. So, I think there must be something wrong with that hotel." Lin Ruoshi's eyes lit up. She didn't expect Yang Cheng to pay attention to such details. It was rare for her to admire a man's intelligence instead of his strength. "Brother Yang, will it be dangerous?" Jinxiu asked worriedly. Yang Cheng reached out and patted the girl's head. "Don't worry. I'm only saying that because I'm confident. Get someone to capture the yellow-haired guy on the ground. We can still track him down if he's alive. Also, get someone to clean up the bodyguards and servants in the house. With such loyalty, we shouldn't keep them around." After being reminded by Yang Cheng, Zhen Xiu and Unyung looked at the group of awkward and pleading bodyguards with dissatisfaction. Yang Cheng didn't waste any more time. Even if the other party received news of the annihilation, they wouldn't leave the stronghold in an instant, but he couldn't let the big fish escape. After leaving the Park family, Yang Cheng quickly disappeared into the darkness where no one could see him. Near the swimming pool behind the Ming Dong Hotel in Seoul, the pool had dried up due to the cold weather. In this deserted area, Yang Cheng's figure appeared a few seconds later. After all, it was close to the Park family, and Yang Chung was familiar with the map of Seoul, so he found it in an instant. The Mingdong Hotel wasn't big. It was made up of a few old Korean-style buildings. The main building in the center was divided into 3 floors and 2 underground floors. What troubled Yang Chung was that even if the North Bio people were really inside, he wouldn't be able to find them in a short time. He could only go in and search everywhere. At the same time, the second underground floor of the Mingdong Hotel was the hotel's underground casino. Gambling was allowed in casinos in South Korea, so it wasn't surprising that there was a casino here. In this world of luxury, there was no daylight. The lights seemed to shine on the calm and crazy faces of the gamblers. The bunny girls diligently served drinks, and they didn't mind offering their body parts for the customers to satisfy their desires. However, it would cost a lot to bring them to their rooms. However, the innermost area of the casino was always heavily guarded, and guests were never allowed to take even half a step closer. In a luxurious private room in the work area, a middle-aged man with a white face, wearing a black coat, wearing gold-rimmed glasses, and combed hair was playing Texas Hold'em with a few other men dressed in luxurious clothes. Beside each of the men, there was no lack of seductive girls in revealing clothes. Rather than saying they were playing poker, it would be more accurate to say that they were flirting with the girls. "Mr. Go, you have a call." A man dressed in a waiter's uniform came forward and handed the phone to the man in the coat. The man who was addressed as Mr. Go held the cards in one hand, and the other was caressing the thigh of the girl next to him. He frowned. "Who is it? Don't you know that I'm playing cards at this time?" The waiter said, "It's Park Jong-yun." Mr. Go paused for a moment and sneered. "That ingrate. Don't tell me you don't trust me." Although he spoke disdainfully, Mr. Go still took the phone and asked, "Director Park, what is it now?" "You're still asking me?" "Go Chuck, didn't you say it was foolproof? How many times have you told me that it's foolproof? Your men are all dead." Park Jong-yun's roar came from the other side of the phone. Go Chuck's expression froze. "What did you say? What happened to my men?" Park Jong-yun said angrily, "You idiot, you're still in the dark." "That's right. Your men are all dead. Who would have tipped you off? Let me tell you, the men you sent to the Park family's main house tonight were all taken down by a little maid. Now that they've all been arrested by the police, they all know about you. Go Chuck and your branch's stronghold. Not only did you not kidnap Su Jinxiu, you didn't even kill that troublesome Yang Chung. You even wasted all the spies I planted in the main house. Now, not only you, I'm in danger too." Go Chuck's face darkened. "How is that possible? The men I sent are all retired Special Forces soldiers, and I even brought my men with me. How could they be defeated by a maid? It's already happened, and you still have the cheek to say it. I asked you to frame Kim Jip and kill that old man, but you failed. Now you can't even deal with a little one. Your position as the head of the North Bio branch is coming to an end. For now on, don't contact me. I have nothing to do with you." After saying that, Park Jong-yun slammed the phone. Gao Su roared angrily and threw the phone at a bunny girl's forehead. The bunny girl fainted immediately. Bang! Go Chuck flipped the gambling table in front of him and roared, "Get out! All of you get out!" A few of them knew that they were no match for Go Chuck, and although they were not happy about it, they could only obediently run out. The bunny girls also ran away in fear. Go Chuck's face was ashen as he ordered the waiter, "Get everyone out of the casino. It's no longer safe here. Once everyone is gone, take all the confidential documents and seal this place. Don't leave any traces." "But, Mr. Go, will we make it in time? Are you that efficient as a police officer? It'll take us at least an hour to get to this place. Besides, we have spies in the police station that could buy us some time. As long as we don't get caught, the higher-ups won't blame us too much. Get it done." "Yes, sir." A few of Go Chuck's subordinates immediately led the North Bio thugs in the stronghold and charged out fiercely. Some of the staff who were working as bartenders and dealers suddenly reverted to their true identities as North Bio thugs and chased the customers away with the excuse of booking the entire place. Some of the guests still wanted to exchange the money back, but they were beaten up. The other guests didn't dare to say another word. The bunny girls were so frightened that they could only follow the crowd and leave amidst all sorts of complaints. Go-Chuck took out a large amount of jewelry and cash from the safe in his office, as well as stacks of confidential documents. He stuffed them into a large leather bag and was about to leave with a group of subordinates. But just as the group was about to leave the casino that had been swept, the two guards at the main entrance of the casino were thrown in front of the group like human sandbags. Chapter 11:22. Go-Chuck looked up and saw the man named Hua Xia, whom he had only seen in photos, standing there with a mocking expression. Yang Chung. Go-Chuck spoke in broken Mandarin. Yang Chun sighed and said, "Really? Thank you for reminding me. I was wondering why there were so many people coming up from the underground elevator. Turns out you guys were hiding in the most crowded casino. I even had to go to the ladies' toilet to look for you." "What a sin," Go-Chuck scoffed. "You sure are fast. I didn't expect you to be the first one to find this place. But it's good that you're here. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't be in so much trouble." Yang Chung looked puzzled. "I've been minding my own business with the North Bio people. How did I get into trouble? Stop playing dumb. If it weren't for you, Park Cheon would have been dead by now. You even killed 4 of our brothers in the police force, and we haven't even found their corpses. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be in such a sorry state. You deserve to die." Go-Chuck sneered. "You're quite the candid one, reporting everything you've done. It's a pity you chose to walk the path to heaven, but chose to barge into hell. What can you do even if you found our base?" Go-Chuck waved his hand, and 30 to 40 members of the North Bio Nation surrounded Yang Chun with guns in their hands, trapping him in the middle. "I know that you're very skilled, and that you're lucky to be able to survive tonight. However, do you really think that you'll be able to walk out of our territory alive?" Yang Chun wasn't in a hurry to make a move. "What do you think you'll gain from causing such a ruckus tonight, but all your plans have failed? It looks like you're not the leader of the North Bio. I'm Go-Chuck, the head of the North Bio Soul Branch." Go-Chuck said smugly, "You're right. I was worried about how to explain this to the leader, but since you've come knocking on my door, you've been a great help. If I can capture you alive, you'll be the savior of the Park family and someone Su Jinxiu values. I'm sure you'll be able to keep the Park family in check. I dared to come here alone. Do you think I came here to die?" Yang Chen smiled helplessly. Gao Su squinted his eyes and said, "I know you must have good skills to be able to survive these things, but we are not competing in skills. There are dozens of guns pointing at you. I advise you to raise your hands and kneel down." Yang Chang rubbed his chin. "How about we make a bet?" "What?" "If all of you open fire and I die, then there's nothing to say. But if I survive, you have to tell me who the boss of the North Bio Kingdom is, his real identity, and tell me who's colluding with you to deal with the Park family." Yang Chen knew that the North Bio people must have strict rules, otherwise it wouldn't have been so hard to find their information. If he could find out who the real leader of North Bio was through Go-Chuck, then he would have a chance to eradicate this organization or perhaps control it. "Do you think I would make such a silly bet with you?" Yang Chung shrugged. "You can see it for yourself. I'm surrounded by dozens of guns. Are you men from the Republic of Korea or an ancient organization like the North Bio so cowardly?" As soon as he said that, the surrounding North Bio men glared at Yang Chung fiercely, like monkeys with their buttocks on fire staring at an arsonist. "Ignorant Hua Xia people. How can you cowardly people understand the manly spirit of our Republic of Korea? Are you going to bet or not?" Yang Chung snickered in his heart. This method of provocation was really effective. This race's blind worship of their own race's status had been elevated to a deformed and distorted state. Gao Su grinned. "Bet, of course we'll bet, but let's change the way we bet." "Oh, what?" Gao Su took out a revolver from his waist. From the shiny casing, it was obvious that he did not use it often. After pushing the cartridge out, Gao Su turned it around to indicate that there were no more bullets. Then, he took a bullet from his subordinate and loaded it in. Finally, he turned the cartridge around, and no one knew where the bullet was. "Russian roulette?" "That's right." Gao Su laughed evilly. "How about it? Do you dare to play? Don't you think you're very brave? Then let me show you the courage of a man from the Republic of Korea." Yang Chen almost couldn't hold back his laughter. Why wouldn't he dare? Not to mention the fact that he could determine the location of the bullet just by listening to the sound of the cartridge turning. Even if he didn't pay attention to it, the bullet would only leave a small mark on him. As expected of a man from the Republic of Korea. Then I'll go all out today. Are you going to shoot first, or shall I? Gao Su said, I'll go first. With that, Gao Su did not hesitate to pull the trigger at his temple. Kacha! An empty cartridge. The surrounding subordinates looked at Gao Su with admiration. They were filled with fighting spirit, and their national pride was ignited. Yang Chung squinted his eyes. He had underestimated Gao Su. He was obviously very familiar with his gun, and he could tell where the bullet was from the irregular sound of the cartridge turning. By betting like this, it was obvious that he would leave the bullet for someone else. The purpose of doing this was to get rid of the opponent, win the hearts of the people, and increase the trust of his subordinates. Lastly, he did not want to cause too much of a commotion and affect their retreat, killing 3 birds with 1 stone. It's your turn. Gao Su threw the revolver to Yang Chung with an iron-blooded expression. The corner of Yang Chen's mouth curled into a faint smile. The instant he held the gun, he slightly spun the cylinder at an angle that no one could see. Then he shot himself in the temple. It's also empty. Yang Chung patted his chest with lingering fear. Gao Su took the revolver again, fired at himself, and then threw it back to Yang Chung. After 2 rounds, Yang Chung finally received the 5th round. The surrounding North Bu men were already looking at Gao Su with admiration, their blood boiling. They felt that Gao Su, who did not care about life and death, was full of manliness. The people watching this game of life and death were actually more nervous than the people playing it. Gao Su laughed coldly in his heart. The 5th round was the one that he had calculated to kill Yang Chung. Spending less than 5 minutes to calm the hearts of the people, and easily killing a troublesome Huaxia man with a single round, it was definitely worth it. But the next scene made Gao Su involuntarily dumbfounded. Yang Chung casually fired at his temple. Kacha! It was still an empty cartridge. Yang Chung looked like he was lucky. Oh my, I actually survived. This is the last round. Mr. Gao Su, please play. Saying so, Yang Chung threw the revolver back to Gao Su. How is this possible? Gao Su revealed his ferocity. You cheated. Cheated? The gun is yours. You're the one who suggested the game. You're the one who loaded the bullets, and you're the one who decided to shoot first. Hey, are all the men from the Republic of Korea so shameless? Yang Chen mocked. Gao Su's face turned red. Seeing all his subordinates staring at him, he knew that if he went back on his words, not only would he not be able to win the hearts of the people, but he would also be seen as a coward in everyone's eyes. But being a coward is better than losing your life. Gao Su gritted his teeth. Do you think I'm stupid? As long as I'm alive, I still need to contribute to the prosperity of the Republic of Korea. Even if others look down on me, I will still endure humiliation and complete my mission. Filled with righteous indignation, Gao Su aimed the revolver at Yang Chung and laughed sinisterly. Stupid Huaxia pig, today is the day you die. He already hated Yang Chung to the core and did not want to waste any more time. He directly aimed at Yang Cheng's head and pulled the trigger. Kacha! The bullet did not fire. It was an empty cartridge. Gao Su once again took the revolver in disbelief. Pushing the revolver out, he realized that it was empty. Looking for this? Yang Cheng took out a small bullet from his pocket, shook it, and threw it back to Gao Su. I thought you guys from the Republic of Korea were brave. If you were afraid of death, you should have said so earlier. An empty cartridge can scare you silly. Yang Chung grinned. Gao Su's face turned pale, as if he could feel the North Bio people looking at him with disdain. You dare to trick me. Gao Su gnashed his teeth, and his eyes widened. What are you all standing there for? Shoot! Turn him into a hornet's nest. Chapter 11:23. Although they had lost face, the group of North Bio men did not hold back when they opened fire. The place where Yang Chun was already in a mess. The tiles on the floor and the ceiling couldn't escape the damage. But when they were done, they were shocked to find that Yang Chung had disappeared from the spot. Just then, a cry of pain came from where Go Chuk was. Everyone looked over and saw that Yang Chung had appeared behind Go Chuk, his hand clamped around Go Chuk's neck. I'll ask you one last time. Who are your leaders and those who are working with you? Yang Chung asked coldly. Go-Chuck's face turned red, and a vicious glint flashed in his eyes. Suddenly, his left hand reached into his coat and pulled out a handgun. "Go to hell." Infuriated, Gao Su aimed his backhand at Yang Chun and was about to shoot. But Yang Chung was no longer interested in playing with him and naturally would not give him the chance to do so. Before Go-Chuck could aim the gun, Yang Chung had already snatched the gun from his hand and stuffed it into Go-Chuck's mouth. Woo-woo! Go-Chuck's eyes widened, and his bloodshot eyes were filled with despair. Amidst the terror of the North Bio men, Yang Chung did not hesitate to pull the trigger. Bang! Blood spurted out from the back of Go-Chuck's head. His head had been pierced through. After kicking the dead Go-Chuck far away, Yang Chung looked at everyone present and said, "Who is your leader? Who contacted you to deal with the Park family? Tell me, and you'll live. Those who don't, and those who don't know will all die." The gloomy words and the nightmarish figure caused the group of South Korean men to tremble. However, the fear they felt towards the organization's internal affairs prevented them from saying anything. They looked at each other. Although they felt that Yang Chen's elusive skills were indeed terrifying, they were also in the underworld after all. They had seen their fair share of storms and waves, so they were naturally fearless. "Brothers, he killed Mr. Go. Let's fight him." "That's right. Wait until you get out of here alive." Under the lead of a few leaders, everyone began to fire wildly at Yang Chung. In an instant, the entire underground casino had been reduced to rubble. All the tables, chairs, floorboards, and tiles were torn apart by the bullets. Amidst the rolling debris and dust, Yang Chung stood still. Although he knew that it would be difficult to get the answer he wanted, his original intention was not to let blood flow like a river. When all the bullets were about to touch Yang Chung, they were blocked by a layer of shield. After all, this was a luxurious hotel, and Yang Chung did not want to shock the world by dismembering the bodies of these people. Sighing, Yang Chung waved his hand, and a wave of heaven and earth energy condensed into a destructive ripple, blasting 20 to 30 North BU men into dust. Against ordinary people who did not train much less cultivate, their bodies were not enough to withstand Yang Cheng's current strength. No one felt any pain, nor did they feel anything. It was as if they were chemical substances that had been decomposed, turning into the most basic tiny dust particles. In an instant, the entire underground casino fell silent, leaving only Yang Chung alone. Yang Chung looked around and picked up the large leather bag that Go-Chuck was about to take away, as well as the phone he was carrying. In Go-Chuck's bag were a large number of documents and financial reports, all related to the underground casino's operations and some loan sharks. However, there were a few documents that gave Yang Chung a surprise. Because these signed documents were related to business and investment cooperation with the Park family. And the person who signed them was none other than Park Jong-yun. Based on the general gist of these projects, Park Jong-yun must have been secretly working on behalf of Star Moon Group, because these were obviously unequal contracts that gave away money. After turning on Go-Chuck's phone, Yang Chung browsed through the recent call history. Fortunately, the number was still there, and Park Jong-yun's contact information was probably among them. With this, Yang Chung did not have to worry about not being able to force Park Jong-yun to confess. He was also glad that he came in time, not giving them any extra time to clean up. With such a huge ruckus in the casino, the police should be arriving soon. Yang Chung did not linger any longer. He left quietly and headed for Seoul University Hospital. It would not be safe to hand these documents over to the police or anyone else. It was better to let Park Cheon see them and let the old man deal with his family problem. By this time, Park Cheon should have woken up by now. Yang Chung planned to use endless resolve restoration scripture to help him recuperate. Although he could not perform surgery, it would be relatively easy for him to recover. Meanwhile, in the main living room of a villa in the Gangnam district, Park Jong-yun's forehead was drenched in cold sweat. He did not bother to wipe it off as he paced back and forth anxiously. An assistant hurriedly ran into the room and said, "Chairman, our people in the Ming Dong Hotel sent news." When the police arrived, they found that there was a fierce gunfight inside. Gao Su was shot in the head and died. What? He's dead, Park Jong-un asked anxiously. What about the others? The assistant frowned and shook his head. There's no sign of their car. They should be... Park Jong-un trembled, his eyes filled with many thoughts. It's fine if they're dead, but what about the documents? The assistant smiled bitterly. We couldn't find any. Our informant in the police station said that a leather bag at the scene was filled with high-interest loan documents. None of them were related to us. How is that possible? He wouldn't put such things anywhere else. Park Jong-un turned around abruptly. Didn't you see anyone go in from the surveillance? Who did it? The assistant's face fell. That's the worst thing. From a surveillance footage of the Myeongdong Hotel, we found out that the person who entered the underground casino at that time was Yang Chung. Park Jong-un's face was drained of all color. After a long while, he laughed maniacally. Ha ha! Yang Chung. Yang Chung again. Isn't he at the Park residence? Why would he be there? It's too late to say that now. The assistant asked anxiously. Chairman, what should we do now? If Yang Chung takes away the contracts we signed and the chairman sees them, You're at the end of your rope, aren't you? Park Jong-un sneered. The assistant lowered his head. It was obvious that not only was Star Moon out of the picture, he would be lucky if he went to jail. The North Bio might even try to assassinate him because of this. Park Jong-un suddenly said with a poker face, Go my office. The password to the safe is a combination of my birth date and my father's. You can split the money with the other guys after you take it. The assistant was taken aback. Chairman, you. Park Jong-un's eyes were filled with despair. He mocked himself. It's over, it's all over. One wrong move, followed by another. We've lost everything. I can only say that the old man is really lucky to have someone with the surname Yang to help him settle everything. You've been with me all these years. I won't give you anything less, but whether you can live or not depends on yourselves. The assistant's eyes glistened with tears. Chairman, let's go to the hospital and plead with the chairman. After all, he watched you grow up. Plead? If it wasn't for giving my father an explanation, do you think he would value me, a grandson who isn't related to him by blood? In his eyes, only Su Jinxiu is the only heir that needs to be protected. If we go to him now, we'll just be sending ourselves to his doorstep. He can't wait for me to deal with it myself. The assistant's eyes were filled with bitterness. Then what should we do? Why don't you escape with us, Chairman? I know the smuggler. He can send us out to sea and find a small island country to stay for a few days. Who knows? We might even be able to make a comeback. Don't joke around, just run. If you follow me, you'll die for sure. The human snake? Do you think that old man Park Cheon has been dominating Asia all his life for fun? As soon as he wakes up, I'll have nowhere to run. All right, I'm going to do the last thing I need to do. Take the money, take care of yourselves, and run for your lives. Having said that, Park Jong-un picked up the car keys on the table and walked out of the house with light steps. The assistant still wanted to say something, but after a slight struggle, he gritted his teeth and ran to Park Jong-un's office upstairs. But before he could reach the second floor, he heard a loud bang. The next moment, the assistant touched the smoking hole in his chest where blood was flowing out. He turned around stiffly, his face filled with grief and anger. Park Jong-un stood at the door, blowing the muzzle of the Desert Eagle in his hand. His face that seemed to have aged several years sneered. I told you to take it, and you really did. Even if I die, you'll be buried with me. Chapter 1124. In the hospital's intensive care unit, Park Cheon was lying on the bed. The infusion tubes and other equipment in his body had been removed. Yang Chung sat on the edge of the bed and pretended to grab Park Cheon's wrist with one hand, just like an old Chinese doctor. Kim Jip stood in the corner with a frown on his face. He looked at Yang Chung with a puzzled expression as he carried out his so-called traditional Chinese Qigong conditioning. Yang Chung did not know any Qigong, but he was too lazy to explain Huaxia's cultivation technique to Park Cheon. He did not want to shock the world. So he purposely touched Park Cheon's hand and guided the heaven and earth energy of the endless resolve restoration scripture into Park Cheon's body. Yang Chung also fed Park Cheon a low-grade spirit pill, the Red Dew pill. This pill could enhance the concentration of spiritual energy in a cultivator's body, making it easier to absorb large amounts of spiritual energy in a short period of time. Most of Park Cheon's body was weak and necrotic. Yang Chung used the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to nourish his body and used the endless resolve restoration scripture to guide and repair his body. This way, Park Cheon's recovery would be twice the result with half the effort. Park Cheon was initially skeptical of Yang Cheng's words. However, due to the incident at home, it was difficult for him to sleep and recuperate. He had heard from Jane that Yang Chung had a way to speed up his recovery and prolong his life, so he gave it to Yang Chung to give it a try. Park Cheon almost jumped out of his bed the moment Yang Chung began to circulate his energy for him. Putting aside the fact that the pill had turned into a warm substance circulating in his body, Yang Chen's body started to feel numb the moment he touched his hand, and all kinds of comfortable feelings started to flow through his body. Following that, he could clearly feel that the area of his wound, as well as the internal organs in his body, had begun to have a significant increase in sensitivity. Park Cheon, who was used to old age and frailty, felt as if he was rejuvenated. It was not to say that he had regained his youth, but his body was filled with energy that he had not felt for many years. Park Cheon exclaimed in amazement. As Park Cheon's ashy complexion turned rosier and more radiant, Kim Jip, who was in the corner, couldn't help but step forward. The 3 steel balls he had been needing stopped as well. Park Cheon's eyes glowed as he stared at Yang Chung, as if he was looking at a rare treasure. The ancient emperors sought immortality in order to pursue immortality. This was because they could not give up glory, splendor, wealth, and power. Park Cheon was not an emperor, but he enjoyed a more luxurious life than the ancient emperors. To him, if he could live a few more years and be healthier, it was worth it no matter how much money he spent. Hence, Yang Cheng's abilities had piqued Park Cheon's interest. "Mr. Yang, who exactly are you?" Park Cheon could not help but wonder if Yang Chung was Hua Xia's miracle doctor. Yang Chung could not stand such a mushy title. "President Park Cheon, I only know a little Qigong, and that's about it. If you want to live to 100 years old, it's all up to you. The elixirs you ate are not free. You have to pay me later." "Of course. Do you have more of these elixirs?" "If you do, I'll buy them all." Park Cheon's eyes were filled with greed. Yang Chung snickered in his heart. He had a lot of these elixirs. To be honest, he was not interested in low-grade elixirs. The low-grade elixirs he had refined were enough for his women. He wanted more high-grade and supreme-grade elixirs, but unfortunately, the materials were hard to come by. However, Yang Chung pretended to be in a difficult position. "These elixirs are passed down in my family, and there are only 3 left. If it weren't for the fact that you are Jinxiu's grandfather, I wouldn't have given them to you. In fact, this Qigong is only so effective because of the elixirs." Park Cheon was afraid that Yang Chung would not be willing to part with the elixirs. "Mr. Yang, I really need your elixirs. My Jinxiu is still young, and I want to take care of her for a few more years. How about this, Mr. Yang? Name a price. I know that your family is not short of money, but as a token of my respect, I'll give you a good price." Yang Chung retracted his hand. Park Cheon's body had recovered to a state many times better than when he was healthy. He could even get out of bed and jog. "How about this, President Park Cheon? Give me $10 million and I'll give you 1 elixir in exchange." Yang Chung looked reluctant. 1 elixir? Park Cheon quickly got up and grinned. "Why don't I buy both of them? I know these are priceless treasures. How about this? I'll give you an additional $20 million. $30 million for Mr. Yang's elixirs." Yang Chung was overjoyed. This money came so easily. Sauron and the rest should stop selling firearms and help him sell elixirs all over the world to earn more money. However, Yang Chung knew that elixirs like this were not suitable to be circulated too much. Besides, he was only making a little money for fun. Therefore, Yang Chung took out a small porcelain bottle containing 2 red dew elixirs and handed it to Park Cheon. Park Cheon immediately asked Kim Jip to bring a check. A check of 30 million US dollars was handed to Yang Chung. In fact, Yang Chung had originally planned to give some elixirs to Park Cheon. After all, he was Junchio's grandfather, so it was only natural for him to do so. Park Cheon, on the other hand, was ecstatic. He felt that he had gotten a great deal. To him, 30 million US dollars was but a drop in the bucket. After taking care of Park Cheon's health, Yang Chung took out the contracts related to Park Jong-yun. I've read through these documents. I think you should take a look at them, President. I'm an outsider after all, so it's not convenient for me to deal with your family's affairs. Park Cheon took the contracts and scanned through them with a gloomy expression. I knew this kid had done a lot behind my back, but I didn't expect him to be in cahoots with the North Bio Empire. Yang Chung was surprised. President, you know about the North Bio Empire? Park Cheon shook his head with a bitter smile. How could I not know? In fact, I've been secretly going against the North Bio Empire for the past 2 years. However, they couldn't do anything to me in Korea due to my considerable influence in Asia. It's a pity that my health has been deteriorating. Other than that bastard Park Jong-yun, there's no one I can trust. That's why they've taken advantage of me. Yang Chung realized that there was more to the matter than he had imagined. Mr. Yang, you may not know this, but the North Bio Empire has always hoped to unify the entire Korean peninsula. For this, they are willing to face the conflict with North Korea head-on. This year is the Korean election. The side I support is one that takes a tough stance, but doesn't initiate a war with North Korea. Today's weapons are no longer the same as in the past. Too many people die in a war. The North Bio Empire, on the other hand, hopes to provoke a border conflict and trigger internal violence among their people before starting a war between the North and the South. You could say that they're a bunch of lunatics who will do anything to unify the Korean peninsula. The side we support is different. They want to steal the Star Moon Group's assets from the inside. It's no surprise that they've turned against us. Yang Chung suddenly realized that it was a political dispute. However, he had no interest in the Korean peninsula. I only hope that Junchio will be fine. Since you've recovered, President, please go and take charge of the situation. Park Cheon nodded and got up to take his coat from Kim Jip and put it on. Kim Jip, prepare the car and go home. Also, send someone to that bastard's residence and bring him to me. Yes, sir. At the same time, a black Mercedes-Benz came to an abrupt halt in front of Lee Jingjing's apartment. The driver's door opened, and the person who stepped out was Park Jong-yun. Park Jong-yun was dressed in a black coat, his hair a little messy. His face was dejected and gloomy. Park Jong-yun took out his phone and called Lee Jingjing. Hello, is this Vivian? I'm in a bad mood right now. Can I meet you for a chat? The lights in Lee Jingjing's apartment were still on, but Lee Jingjing still replied tactfully. It's late, I'm already asleep. Park Jong-yun smirked. I'm already downstairs. Your room's lights are still on. Vivian, I really have a lot to talk to you about. I'll be leaving for Europe for work in a week or so. Can this be the last time we meet? Lee Jingjing could sympathize with Park Jong-yun's gloomy mood and the fact that it was the last time they met, so she agreed. After a while, Lee Jingjing walked to the apartment building in a pink down jacket and opened the door. Seeing Park Jong-yun's pale face, Lee Jingjing pitied him. It's cold outside. Let's talk inside. Park Jong-yun nodded gratefully and quietly followed Lee Jingjing upstairs. From behind, he stared at Lee Jingjing's slender and taut legs. His eyes burned with lust. Chapter 1125. After entering Lee Jingjing's apartment, Park Jong-yun quietly locked the door. Lee Jingjing didn't pay much attention to it. She went to the kitchen to prepare a pot of hot tea for him. She asked, Mr. Park, is there something bothering you? You don't look too good. Park Jong-yun looked at the clueless woman in the kitchen. She was like a pool of untainted spring water. Just because he said it was the last time she would see him, she couldn't bear to come down and open the door in the middle of the night. She was a clean woman he had never met before. Unfortunately, he was at the end of his rope and lost the chance to pursue her. Park Jong-yun suddenly felt a complicated feeling of sorrow and bitterness spreading in his heart. His original evil nature was also suppressed. Looking at Lee Jingjing's back, Park Jong-yun asked with a trembling voice, Vivian, if I pursue you, Will there come a day when you will truly fall in love with me? Li Jingjing's delicate body trembled. She stood there silently for a long time before she shook her head with her back facing him. Park Jong-yoon's passion instantly turned into cold water. His heart felt like it had been pierced. Why? Am I really not worthy of you? Park Jong-yoon asked unwillingly. Li Jingjing turned around and smiled bitterly. No, I don't hate you. I even feel that I'm not worthy of you. The only reason I can't accept you is because my heart has been completely occupied by someone else. I can't stay with you for another second because I really don't have the energy to think about other men besides that person. Forgive me. I'm really useless. Maybe I'm a little narrow-minded and stubborn. Even if I force myself to forget, it only leaves a deeper footprint in the original position. Park Jong-yoon clenched his fists and took a deep breath. His face turned cold. Are you talking about Yang Chung? Li Jingjing lifted her head abruptly. Her eyes were filled with astonishment, but then her face blushed and she nodded silently. To me, he means something different. No one can replace him. Park Jong-yoon suddenly raised his head and laughed dryly, as if he was crying. Yang Chung. Yang Chung again. Haha, did I kill the whole Yang family in my previous life? Or did I chop that bastard into meat paste in my previous life? Seeing that Park Jong-yoon was on the verge of going crazy, Li Jingjing was finally afraid. Mr. Park, you. Shut up. Park Jong-yoon lunged forward, trapping Li Jingjing in front of him. His two arms gripped the edge of the table tightly, locking Li Jingjing in place, preventing her from escaping. Li Jingjing's face turned pale as she lowered her head, shivering to avoid Park Jong-yoon's hot breath. My career is ruined. My future is ruined. My life is ruined. I have nothing left. It's all because of that bastard Yang Chung. Now, I have nothing left. The one who took away my only hope for a woman. Why is it still Yang Chung? Tell me what's so good about Yang Chung. Tell me. Li Jingjing's eyes reddened as she held back her tears. She bit her lip, not daring to utter a single word. Why aren't you saying anything? Do I look scary now? Do I scare you? I didn't want to scare you. You only had to say that you would fall in love with me one day. Even if it was a lie, I wouldn't have scared you. But you've destroyed my last hope. Why are you so cruel to me? Park Jong-yoon began to cry at the end of his words. The disappointment he felt towards the world was starting to make him lose his mind. Li Jingjing mustered her courage and spoke. Mr. Park, please don't be like this. What happened? Brother Yang, don't mention him. Park Jong-yoon suddenly let out a furious roar. With a sinister smile, he said, Since Yang Chun has taken everything from me, I shall destroy you as well. What are you going to do? Li Jingjing's legs began to turn into jelly. Park Jong-yoon smirked. Don't think I don't know. I've already sent people to investigate. Yang Ching actually cares a lot about you, doesn't he? If that's the case, if I were to F***CK you, even if I die, I can make Yang Chung suffer for the rest of his life, right? Li Jingjing's face paled as she instinctively struggled, trying to escape. But Park Jong-yoon didn't have the slightest bit of tenderness for the fairer sex. Why would he give her the slightest chance? Li Jingjing was just about to escape from the kitchen when Park Jong-yoon yanked off her jacket and pushed her from behind. She fell to the ground. Li Jingjing screamed in pain and tried to get up to escape, but Park Jong-yoon was already in front of her. He reached out and yanked on her clothes. Li Jingjing struggled helplessly. After her sweater was yanked off, she was left with thermal underwear and a bra. The woman's slender but voluptuous figure was revealed. Park Jong-yoon's eyes burned with passion, his breathing heavy. Don't do this. Don't. Mr. Park. Help. Ugh. Amidst Park Jong-yoon's hysterical laughter, Li Jingjing's hair was a mess. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Unknowingly, her underwear had been ripped off, revealing her snow-white skin gradually. Li Jingjing could no longer hear her own cries. Her mind was filled with Park Jong-yoon's maniacal laughter. The woman's eyes were filled with despair. After leaving the hospital, Yang Chung sat in Park Cheon's car, yawning. Park Cheon, on the other hand, was in high spirits. It had been years since he felt this refreshed. His body was fit and healthy. Kim Jip, who was sitting in front, received a call and reported respectfully, "President, our men have reported that Park Jong-un has shot his assistant and bodyguards to death. He's already fled in a car, but we didn't find him leaving the Gangnam district. He should still be in the district." Park Cheon frowned. "He should know he can't escape." "Why is that?" "Don't worry about it. Find him immediately. I want to know exactly how much he has betrayed." Kim Jip responded and continued to contact his men to search the entire Gangnam district. Yang Chung, on the other hand, frowned. He found the news of Park Jong-un shooting his assistant and bodyguards to be rather unusual. If he only wanted to escape, why would he do such a thing? With these unfortunate people accompanying him, he would have a better chance. Did he not have a way out by doing so? All of a sudden, a bolt of lightning struck Yang Cheng's mind as he realized something. "Stop the car! Stop the car!" Yang Cheng yelled. The speculation in his mind made it impossible for him to calm down. The driver was startled and quickly braked by the roadside. Fortunately, there was not much traffic at night, making it convenient for him to stop. "Mr. Yang, what happened?" Park Cheon was now treating Yang Chung as an equal. Yang Chung had no time to explain. He pushed the car door open, and with a few quick leaps, he darted into the bushes by the roadside and disappeared without a trace. Yang Cheng's heart was burning with anxiety. Park Jong-un's act of throwing caution to the wind was a sign that he was desperate for one last chance. Once he was certain that there was no hope, he would try his best to take revenge on the person who caused him to end up like this. That person was undoubtedly Yang Chung. The only person he could possibly hurt was Li Jingjing, a girl who lived alone. Moreover, Park Jong-un had failed to obtain Li Jingjing previously. With no hope left in his life, he would definitely want to make one last attempt. Fortunately, Yang Cheng's speed allowed him to reach Li Jingjing's apartment in an instant. Yang Chung was even more thankful that he had followed Lin Ruashi here before. Arriving at the apartment, Yang Chung spread out his divine sense and immediately found the apartment where Li Jingjing and Park Jong-un were staying. Without bothering to disturb anyone else in the apartment, Yang Chung jumped onto the balcony and smashed the glass door into the living room. Li Jingjing was pinned down by Park Jong-un on the floor of the kitchen. Her hair was a mess, her face was covered in tears, and her expression was lifeless. As for the woman's upper body, it was almost completely exposed to the air. The pair of perky breasts in front of her were only covered by her bra, and most of the pink balls were already exposed. Park Jong-un was greedily kissing Li Jingjing's neck and cheeks. The tip of his tongue was like tasting a delicious delicacy. Every time Li Jingjing's tears overflowed, Park Jong-un would excitedly lick the tears away and let out a creepy laugh. Li Jingjing had already lost the strength to resist. She was completely limp on the floor. Being pinned down by Park Jong-un was like being pinned down by a puppet. Park Jong-un's other hand was forcefully tearing off Li Jingjing's tight black trousers. Half of her thigh was already glaringly exposed. "You're mine. Mine." Yang Cheng's eyes were already scarlet red. His rage caused the trembling of his soul to be extremely clear. Park Jong-un's reaction was slow when he heard the sound of glass shattering. He turned around. When he saw Yang Chung standing upright under the light, Park Jong-un licked his lips and smiled eerily. "So it's you. Why do you always appear when I don't want you to appear? I've just started to have a taste. Can't you just let me have my way for once?" Yang Chun had no intention of chatting at all. Striding forward, he abruptly grabbed Park Jong-un's head and lifted him off Li Jingjing's body. A pair of ferocious eyes stared at Park Jong-un's completely dejected eyes. "Remember this look. Come find me even if you become a ghost. I'll kill you." As soon as he finished, his 5 fingers clenched into a fist without hesitation. Crush. Chapter 11:26. After Park Jong-un's skull was twisted off, a puddle of red and white matter fell to the floor and splattered everywhere. Yang Chun turned a blind eye to this extremely bloody scene. His boots directly stepped over Park Jong-un's corpse, crushing his rib cage in an instant. After killing the man, Yang Chung finally felt his heart calm down. Squatting down stiffly, Yang Chung reached out his hands and touched Li Jingjing's messy body. Although the girl had not been physically violated and he had arrived in time, the girl's condition made Yang Cheng afraid. From the moment he came in, Li Jingjing had turned a deaf ear to her surroundings. The girl only stared at the ceiling blankly. The tears at the corner of her eyes had dried up, and her expression was strangely calm. Jingjing. Yang Cheng's trembling hands caressed Li Jingjing's face and forced a smile. "It's okay, I'm here." As he spoke, Yang Cheng took off his jacket and covered Li Jingjing's exposed body with it. After wrapping the girl's body, he helped her up. Li Jingjing slowly turned around. Her eyes were terrifyingly empty. Looking at Yang Cheng in front of her, the corners of Li Jingjing's mouth moved. Suddenly, she let out a sigh of relief. Her head sank, and she fainted. "Jingjing!" Yang Cheng screamed. The situation in front of him had completely exceeded his expectations. He thought that Li Jingjing would hug him and cry her heart out. Even biting him would be understandable. But now Li Jingjing had fainted. Yang Cheng quickly held Li Jingjing's wrist and sent his divine sense into her body. The endless resolve restoration scriptures, heaven and earth energy began to flow through Li Jingjing's meridians in an attempt to find the cause of this. However, Yang Cheng realized that Li Jingjing's body was not damaged. Her body was completely normal. Other than a slight weakness, there was nothing special. How could this be? Yang Cheng was burning with anxiety. He knew that this was not a problem that he could solve. He could only carry Li Jingjing and run out of the building. In the dark, no one could see what was happening here. Yang Cheng didn't want to call a taxi anymore. He carried Li Jingjing and moved quickly to the emergency department of Seoul University Hospital. The doctors and nurses of the emergency department were also shocked when they saw Yang Cheng suddenly barging in at night with a girl in his arms. "Sir, what happened to this young lady?" Yang Cheng placed Li Jingjing on the bed that the nurses pushed out and said, "She seems to have suffered some stimulation. I have no idea why she fainted. I can't wake her up no matter how I try to wake her up. Quick, help her check." Yang Cheng could only understand that Li Jingjing was stimulated and became like this. He hoped that there would be no other problems after she woke up. After Li Jingjing was pushed into the CT room, Yang Cheng finally had the time calm down. He took out his phone and found that Lin Ruoshi had already called him several times. He was too anxious to notice it before. After calling back, Lin Ruoshi's worried voice immediately came from the other side. "Hubby, where have you been? Why are you missing when President Park Cheon is back?" Yang Cheng sighed and briefly explained the matter of Park Jong-yun going to Li Jingjing's place. "Jingjing is unconscious now. I'm looking after her in the hospital. You don't have to worry. What could happen to me?" Lin Ruoshi didn't expect Li Jingjing to be implicated. "Jingjing, could she have been? No. Fortunately, I was there early." Yang Cheng smiled bitterly. This was really dangerous. If he had been a minute late, he might not have been able to face Li Jingjing for the rest of his life. After all, he was the one who let Park Jong-yun go instead of killing him earlier. Lin Ruoshi heaved a sigh of relief. "Then, I'll tell President Park Cheon to deal with the aftermath. I'll pack up and accompany you at the hospital." Yang Cheng initially wanted to ask Lin Ruoshi not to come over at night due to the cold weather. However, after thinking about it, Lin Ruoshi would think that he was intentionally spending time alone with Li Jingjing. Hence, he didn't object. Due to the smooth traffic at night, Lin Ruoshi arrived at the hospital in half an hour. Although she had acquired her Hotian cultivation, Lin Ruoshi's physique wasn't as extraordinary as Yang Cheng's. It was impossible for her to keep out the cold, so she obediently wore a beige cashmere coat and a red scarf. When she came in, Lin Ruoshi had 2 cups of hot coffee in her hands. "I bought it on the way here. Have a cup of coffee to refresh yourself, even though I know you don't need it." Yang Cheng took the coffee and smelled the aroma of the coffee beans. He felt his mood calming down. Gratefully, he said to Lin Ruoshi, "I've had enough trouble today. You should go back and rest early." Lin Ruoshi shook her head. "Let's see how Jingjing is first. I'll be wherever you are." "Are you worried that I won't be able to resist flirting?" Yang Cheng chuckled. Lin Ruoshi rolled her eyes at him. "What's the point of worrying? I'm just worried about Jingjing. Women are loyal too. No matter what, we're friends. While they were talking, a doctor with a file in his hand walked over with a frown. Mr. Yang, I'm Chief Physician Zheng Weizhong. President Park Cheon has contacted us. I'm sorry, I came a little late, but we'll do our best to help Mr. Yang take care of the patient. Now, please come to my office. Yang Chun didn't expect Park Cheon to be so considerate as to take care of the hospital's affairs and call the doctors back from work. Logically speaking, he should be very busy dealing with the dead Park Jong-yun and dealing with the North Bio's tale. As expected of an Asian business tycoon, to be able to climb to such a high position, he was indeed attentive. This alone made Yang Chung feel at ease. Yang Chung and his wife were seated in Dr. Zhang's office. They had a bad feeling when they saw Dr. Zhang's serious expression. Dr. Zhang, is Jingjing in danger? Yang Chung asked anxiously. He couldn't figure out what was wrong with Jingjing. Dr. Zhang smiled bitterly. Her life is not in danger, but the problem at hand is more troublesome. What problem? Dr. Zhang asked back. Mr. Yang, was Miss Lee violated when she was sent here? I heard from the nurse that her clothes were disheveled. Yang Chung nodded. Someone tried to violate her, but I stopped them. No wonder. Then during the incident, was Miss Lee's head hit? Hit? Yang Chung frowned as he recalled the scene. She was pressed to the floor. When I arrived, I wasn't sure how she fell to the floor. Maybe she hit herself. Anyway, the way she looked at me was hollow. Lin Ruashi's eyes were filled with anxiety. She asked Yang Chun to translate for her. Listening to these words, tears welled up in her eyes. She felt a deep pity for Li Jingjing. Dr. Zhang exhaled and confirmed the radiographic films again. Mr. Yang, with all due respect, Miss Lee's current problem may not be something we can help with. What? Yang Cheng's heart skipped a beat. Dr. Zhang said, Miss Lee's head was concussed and her cerebral cortex was damaged. Although it's not serious, her nerves were damaged. At the same time, her spirit and consciousness were severely stimulated. Her cognition, consciousness, emotions, etc. were all severely destroyed. She is now sleeping with a tranquilizer. It is possible that when she wakes up, her mental state will be very bad. Before our nurse injected her with the tranquilizer, Miss Lee was already trembling all over. She kept shouting that she didn't want to. She couldn't communicate, and she refused to let anyone touch her. Based on my many years of experience, she may be suffering from a psychological disorder or a phobia or other mental illness. This time, Yang Chung was so stunned that he forgot to translate for Lin Ruashi. Because of the shock in his heart, Yang Chung felt a sharp pain in his heart. Lin Ruashi looked at Yang Cheng's expression and knew that the situation was very bad. Hubby, what's wrong? Tell me quickly. Yang Chun heaved a sigh and explained the symptoms. How could this be? Lin Ruashi finally couldn't hold back her tears. Dr. Zheng sighed and said, generally speaking, just being violated will not cause a woman to have such a serious mental illness. According to my estimation, Miss Lee's mind should have been in a very unstable state before she was violated, or she was in a very low and disappointed state with her life and her feelings. That's because she didn't have anything in her life that she was reluctant to part with. That's why she gave up on her heart and chose to close herself off after she suffered a blow. Chapter 11:27. After saying these words, Dr. Zheng noticed Yang Chen's abnormally pained expression and couldn't help but say, Mr. Yang, is it true that such situations have happened before? Yang Cheng took a sip of his coffee and felt that there was no sugar in it. He had thought that a girl's state of mind might be sad, but he did not expect that it would hurt her to the point where she had nothing left to live for. Doctor, what can we do to change this situation? Is it going to continue like this? Dr. Zheng shook his head. We don't know. Maybe the patient will get better on her own, or maybe it will get worse. After listening to Yang Cheng's words, Lin Ruashi could not help but recall what the girl had said to her in Li Jingjing's apartment. When faced with a lot of irresistible forces, can a girl like me with no background really rely on my own strength to avoid certain things? I really envy you. Recalling these words, Lin Ruashi could not help but feel a wave of guilt. Was it because of her that Li Jingjing had fallen to this state? But she was clearly doing what she was supposed to do, But why did she feel so heartache, so guilty, and so much self-blame? Everything began to revolve around Lin Ruashi's heart, making her feel melancholy and uneasy. At this time, a warm hand held Lin Ruashi's uneasy palm. Lin Ruashi raised her head and found that Dr. Zheng had already left the office and Yang Cheng was looking at her gently. Don't think too much. This has nothing to do with you. It's not like you asked Par Zhongyin to harm people. It's not good to take responsibility. Lin Ruashi's eyes were filled with tears, and she whispered in a low voice, Am I a cold-blooded bad woman? Yang Cheng pulled his lover into his arms and gently stroked Lin Ruashi's hair. He patted the woman's back and said, If you're a bad woman, then I'm not even a bad man. You didn't do anything wrong. This is all beyond fate. Believe me, Jingjing definitely did not hate you. Really? Yes, of course. Yang Cheng used his thumb to wipe the tears from the corner of the woman's eyes. He smiled and said, Let's go and see how Jingjing is doing. Lin Ruashi hesitated for a moment before nodding and getting up. The two of them walked through the quiet corridors of the hospital and arrived at Li Jingjing's ward. After a nurse installed in foredrip, she walked out with a smile and closed the door. Li Jingjing lay on the bed, her face regaining some color, but in her sleep, her eyebrows were still tightly knitted, as if she was having a nightmare. Hubby, when will Jingjing wake up? Lin Ruashi sat on the side of the bed and looked at Li Jingjing nervously. Yang Cheng shook his head. I'm not sure. She's alone here with no relatives or friends. If she was in Zhonghai, old Li and his wife could take care of her. Then let's stay here tonight and wait for her to wake up to see the situation. Lin Ruashi suggested. Yang Cheng had the same intention. He wanted to see Li Jingjing's condition and consider whether to take her to another place for treatment or simply return to Zhonghai. Looking at the unconscious girl on the bed, the night passed unknowingly. Lin Ruashi was now able to regulate the true energy in her body like Yang Cheng. So naturally, she did not feel too sleepy. The couple sat on the bench, leaning against each other and chatting. It was not too boring. In the middle of the night, Park Chion called to ask about Li Jingjing's condition and offered to provide any assistance. In the morning, Li Jingjing finally opened her eyes slowly. However, the girl's gaze was still abnormally blank, as if she did not know where she was. Lin Ruashi was overjoyed. She hurried forward and grabbed Li Jingjing's hand. Jingjing, you're awake. Are you feeling better? Li Jingjing stared blankly at Lin Ruashi and did not answer. She mumbled, thirsty, thirsty? Oh, I'll get you some water. Although Lin Ruashi felt strange, she still poured a cup of warm water for Li Jingjing. She helped Li Jingjing up and brought the cup to the girl's lips. Li Jingjing slowly pursed her lips and drank half the cup of water before stopping. Lin Ruashi asked cautiously, Jingjing, do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? Li Jingjing suddenly asked, Who are you? Lin Ruashi froze and almost dropped the cup of water on the bed. Her pretty face turned pale. Yang Cheng had been observing from his side. He initially thought that Li Jingjing's condition was not too bad, but this sentence made Yang Cheng's heart sink. Jingjing, don't you know us? Yang Cheng could not help but ask. Li Jingjing, on the other hand, had not seen Yang Cheng at all. When Yang Cheng suddenly stepped forward, she screamed, Go away! Go away! Li Jingjing was like an agitated deer. She kept kicking her legs and hugging her head with both hands. She was about to fall off the bed. Yang Cheng flashed over and caught Li Jingjing. He did not let her fall to the floor, but Li Jingjing was crying loudly. Let me go. Wah! Let me go. Go away. Jingjing, calm down. I'm Yang Cheng, your big brother Yang. How did you? Lin Ruashi was so anxious that she did not know what to do. She grabbed Li Jingjing's arm and shouted anxiously, Jingjing, don't you recognize us? Don't cry. Li Jingjing did not listen at all. She cried and wanted to run away. Lin Ruashi hugged Li Jingjing's waist tightly and said to Yang Cheng, Hubby, get out. Jingjing seems to be afraid to see you. Yang Cheng also remembered that his appearance seemed to have agitated Li Jingjing. He nodded and quickly ran out of the ward with a face full of worry. Sure enough, when Yang Cheng left the ward, it became quiet. Li Jingjing was like a frightened rabbit. Her eyes were full of tears. She trembled and hugged Lin Ruashi. Her knuckles turned white. The commotion inside had attracted the attention of the nurses who were supposed to be on duty in the morning. She ran in to check on the situation and immediately helped Li Jingjing down from Lin Ruashi's body. The middle-aged nurse said a long string of Korean to Lin Ruashi. But Lin Ruashi could not understand it at all. So, she pulled the nurse and ran out of the ward. The two of you, the patient's mental state has been abnormal since last night. Didn't the doctor say that the patient's condition will be confirmed by the doctor? Please do not agitate the patient anymore. Yang Qing asked in doubt. Nurse, why was Miss Li not agitated when she saw my wife, but so afraid when she saw me? The nurse knitted her brows and said, based on my years of experience, it might be because the patient is stimulated by men. Many girls have been violated. After their mental state becomes abnormal, they can no longer face men. I hope that this gentleman can understand. If they get too close, it might worsen Miss Li's condition. Yang Cheng felt a sharp pain in his heart. He never thought that Li Jingjing's mental state would be so severe. Lin Ruashi also looked at Li Jingjing in the ward in disbelief. The girl was panting and panting. She was like a helpless little girl looking for her parents' comfort. A beautiful girl with a bright future. What did she do wrong to be harmed like this? She didn't get anything at all. She had been silently enduring everything. Lin Ruashi could not bear to look at Li Jingjing any longer. The more she saw the girl in this state, the more she felt that she was the one who caused all of this. Even if it was not direct, it was indirect. Yang Qing no longer had the energy to comfort Lin Ruashi. Li Jingjing's condition was giving him a splitting headache. More than an hour later, a psychiatrist from the university hospital came to examine Li Jingjing. However, the male doctor could not approach her at all. In the end, it was the female doctor who examined her. The diagnosis was in vain. Li Jingjing's mental state was indeed on the verge of collapse. She was extremely afraid of men approaching her. Due to the excessive stimulation, she had sealed off most of her memories and could not recognize anyone around her. It wasn't just Yang Chun and Lin Ruashi. Park Chion, Jin Xiao, and Jin Xiao, who had rushed to the hospital to visit Li Jingjing, as well as the rest of the Park clan, were all unknown to Li Jingjing. Even when an old man like Park Chion approached her, Li Jingjing shrank into a corner in fear. Looking at her usually quiet and intellectual teacher in such a pitiful state, like a wounded kitten, Jin Xiao could not help but burst into tears. She cried loudly in front of Li Jingjing's bed. Lin Ruashi calmed herself down and asked Yang Cheng, should we tell Li Jingjing's family? Shouldn't old Li and his wife know about this? Yang Cheng shook his head. No. Old Li and his wife always thought that Li Jingjing was studying well in the United States. If they knew that Li Jingjing lost her memory and suffered from phobia, how could they bear it? Since the doctor here said that there's no way, I can ask Jane and see if she has a solution. Chapter 1128. Although Jane had just returned to the UK, Yang Cheng couldn't afford to tire her out again because the top psychiatrist in South Korea couldn't do anything about Li Jingjing's condition. The answers given were, let nature take its course and leave it to fate. Yang Cheng also knew the truth that mental illness must be treated with mental medicine, but the biggest problem was that he didn't know where to start. In the afternoon, Yang Cheng personally made a trip and quickly brought Jane back to South Korea. Jane was shocked for a while that Yang Cheng could move so quickly with his current cultivation. She even had the idea of cultivating with Yang Cheng. It was just that with Jane's understanding, such a magical ability couldn't be learned easily. The hospital also basically knew who Jane was, so they cooperated and gave Jane an independent space to treat Li Jingjing. When Li Jingjing saw Jane, she looked like she had never seen her before. Li Jingjing, who was wearing a white striped patient uniform, looked dull and had no aura at all. For a full 2 hours, Jane used various ways to communicate with Li Jingjing psychologically, inducing Li Jingjing to remove the spiritual shackles. But Li Jingjing was still at a loss. In the end, Jane helplessly walked out of the ward and knitted her brows. Her current situation is extremely complicated. She has selectively sealed off a portion of her memories, and she has also selectively developed a phobia for men. If it's not resolved in time, she will sink deeper and deeper, and in the end, she might even collapse. Yang Chung smiled bitterly. I also know it's urgent, but how to treat it? Those doctors said there's no way. In fact, it's not that they don't think there's a way, but no method can effectively guarantee the success of the treatment. Generally, to deal with mental illness like phobia, hypnotherapy, cognitive therapy, compulsive therapy, or situational therapy can be used. I plan to carry out hypnotherapy first. If I can use psychological hints to get rid of Miss Lee's fear, that's the best. If not, I'll try something else. Hearing the hypnosis was going to be used, Lin Ruoshi, who had been staying in a hospital, couldn't help but ask, will it be dangerous? Jane smiled and shook her head. If there's any danger, you can quickly break away from the hypnosis. I have experience in this area. Don't worry. As Jane took Li Jingjing to a quiet room for a series of hypnosis preparations and treatment, Yang Chung didn't ask much. After all, he didn't understand these things. Seeing that Lin Ruoshi was still frowning, he patted the woman's shoulder and said, Ruoshi, why don't you go back to the Park family first? There's nothing you need help with here anyway. I'll take care of things. Also, tell Jinxiu not to worry too much. There will always be a way. Lin Ruoshi knew that Yang Chung was right. There was nothing she could do if she stayed here other than feeling sad. She nodded and was about to say goodbye when she couldn't help but ask, Hubby, if Jingjing continues like this, what will you do? Yang Chung was stunned for a long time and finally said calmly, After all, I also have an indirect responsibility. I can only take her back to Zhonghai and tell old Li and his wife that regardless of whether they hate me or not, I will always take good care of their family. Lin Ruoshi seemed to have expected such an outcome. She smiled bitterly. Some things are obviously right at the time, but the result is not what people want. Yang Qing knew what Lin Ruoshi was thinking, and he was speechless. Not only did Li Jingjing always have a place in his heart, but it was also a man's sense of responsibility. He couldn't just leave Li Jingjing in a foreign country and ignore her in the future. Lin Ruoshi didn't say anything more and left silently to return to the Park family. She also needed to stay quiet for a while. Being in a hospital had already made her feel like she was struggling to breathe. More than 2 hours later, Jane came out of the temporary office. Yang Chung stood outside the door, waiting for news. How is it? Yang Chung asked hurriedly. Jane's face was rather solemn. It failed. Miss Lee can't enter deep hypnosis at all. As soon as I touch on what happened that night, she will become delirious and her heart rate will increase rapidly. I don't dare to try too much. Yang Chung couldn't help but step forward and hold Jane's shoulders. Jane, I know it's difficult, but I beg you, you must cure her. She can't go on like this. She's only in her 20s, and her life has just entered the best years. She has been suffering for so many years to support her family. She can't live like this for the rest of her life without enjoying anything. Jane couldn't help but let out a bitter smile when she saw Yang Chen's reddened eyes and agitated look. Why are you so concerned about other girls? You can be so emotional, but you can't be emotional for me even once. Yang Chung was stunned, then silently let go of his hands and said awkwardly, You are different from her. We're good friends. Good friends. After so many years, after doing so many things for you, you still treat me as a good friend. Jane murmured, bit her red lips, and forced a smile. How can you say such cruel words to me so gently? Yang Cheng's heart twitched. He felt his head swelling like a fishbone stuck in his throat, and he was about to suffocate. He looked at Jane with a pleading look. I really haven't been so tired in a long time. Jane, let's talk about our matters later. Help me first, and let Jingjing return to normal, okay? Jane naturally wiped the corner of her eyes and took a deep breath. I'm afraid the only person in the world who can make the murderous His Majesty Pluto beg is me, Jane. Jane curled her lips in self-mockery. Yang Chung said resentfully, I don't have any burden to beg you. Jane shook her head weakly. It's not that there is no way. What way? Miss Lin isn't here, right? Yang Chung was puzzled. What's wrong? What does it have to do with Ruoshi? I asked her to go back and rest. Jane nodded and smiled. Remember what I said before? To deal with this kind of illness, you can use situational treatment and forced treatment. What do you want to do? Yang Chung asked. Jane hooked her finger at Yang Chung and asked Yang Chung to listen. Yang Chung was puzzled, but he still moved closer to listen to what Jane was saying. After Jane finished speaking, Yang Cheng's face became quite strange, and he hesitantly grimaced. This? No wonder you want to ask if Rawashi is here. Will this work? Jane shrugged and said, That's all I can think of. If you think it's not suitable, then use chronic treatment. Maybe one day Misty will recover on her own, but I think it will probably get worse. After all, she can't even get close to a man. This kind of life is too difficult. Yang Chung frowned tightly. It was indeed as Jane said, it was too difficult to arrange for Li Jingjing to receive long-term treatment in a place full of women, and it might not be effective. If it drags on, no one can guarantee that it won't worsen. Because she has just sealed her heart, her consciousness isn't sealed too deeply. If you forcibly pull out the consciousness that she is trying to seal and hide in time, you can successfully save her, Jane added. This method is a bit ruthless, but direct and relatively most likely to succeed. If it fails, the situation won't be worse than now. But you must remember, once you start, you can't turn back because of pity for her. Yang Chung gritted his teeth and pondered for a moment. In the end, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Aren't you tempting me to be a bad person? There's a fine line between good and evil. If you have her in your heart and are willing to take responsibility, then it's not evil, Jane teased. At least in my opinion, you've been holding it in all this time. Isn't it good to give you a chance not to hold it in? Yang Chung simply made up his mind and said, Then I'll go in. Jane was stunned. You want to go in here? This is the hospital office. I know. It's because this is an office, not a place to sleep. That's why it feels better, isn't it? Yang Chung said. Jane looked at the man speechlessly. You've always been a beast. Even if you're married and pretend, you're still a beast. Yang Chung was also thick-skinned. You're the one who made me make up my mind. Since I'm going to do it, I'll do it as ruthlessly and thoroughly as possible. Anyway, I'm not qualified as a husband in this life. At most, I'll go back and be bullied for a while. It's better than suffering in my heart for the rest of my life. Jane narrowed her eyes. I'm thinking, if I stand in front of you naked, will you also be a beast to me? That way, everything will be settled. When Yang Chung heard this, he was shocked and quickly rushed into the office, locking the door. Chapter 1129. Li Jingjing, who was sitting quietly on a leather chair, was startled. When she saw that the person who suddenly barged into the office was a man, her pretty face instantly turned pale and her lips trembled. Yang Chung turned around and looked at the girl whose expression had already started to change. The girl's eyes were filled with bewilderment. Suddenly, the determination in his heart was severely weakened. He took a step forward. Ah! Li Jingjing exclaimed and got down from the chair. She hid behind the chair in a panic and shrank there, not daring to look at Yang Chung. Jane's words surfaced in Yang Cheng's mind. Once you start, you can't turn back. If he only scared her like this, it would only worsen Li Jingjing's condition in the future. Thinking of this, Yang Cheng's gaze became determined and his facial expression began to become indifferent. He strode forward and pulled the chair away. Don't come over. Go away. Go away. Li Jingjing staggered and fell to the ground. Her two long legs began to kick at Yang Chung while her body shrunk back. Yang Chung opened his arms and hugged Li Jingjing's legs. He dragged her in front of him and flipped over. The girl suddenly found it difficult to move. She kept struggling and only made her delicate body stick closely to Yang Cheng's body. She could feel the man's strength and toughness more and more. Between breaths, Yang Chung could smell the faint fragrance on Li Jingjing's body. It was mixed with the smell of disinfectant in the hospital, stimulating his senses. His chest could touch Li Jingjing's soft, two snow-white peaks. They were pressed tightly against each other. Through the cotton material, the protruding spots were gently teasing. Li Jingjing's pretty face was pale. She closed her eyes tightly, and her eyelashes trembled. Tears flowed out her eyes. She was so scared that she forgot to scream. Like an injured kitten, her hands curled up. Jingjing, Do you really not remember me? Yang Cheng asked in a low voice. Li Jingjing sobbed. She opened her eyes slightly, but hurriedly closed them again. She just kept sobbing. I'm Yang Chun, your big brother Yang. Don't you remember that we've known each other since 2 years ago? Your father, old Li, ran a stall with me in the food market. I even went to your house for a meal, and I even attended a gathering with you. Don't you remember? Yang Chen asked, unwilling to give up. Li Jingjing shook her head vigorously. Wu, you, go away. I don't know you. A trace of pain flashed through Yang Cheng's eyes. He smiled bitterly and said, Forgive me. I can't watch you go on like this. With that, Yang Cheng finally opened his mouth and kissed Li Jingjing's thin lips fiercely. The girl's beautiful eyes widened. Other than fear and panic, there were also tears of grievance rolling down her cheeks onto the floor. The ice-cold lips stimulated Yang Cheng's senses, and his adrenaline was rapidly secreted. The male hormones made Yang Cheng's head start to feel heavy, and his eyes were finally filled with a strong desire. What made Yang Cheng unable to extricate himself was the pitiful expression in the girl's eyes. It was especially making him sink into it. Whoa, Li Jingjing let out a moan from her throat. In Yang Cheng's ears, it was a bewitching sound that knocked on his soul. The girl's figure wasn't particularly voluptuous, but her figure was just right, especially her slender legs. It made the girl's figure have an artistic sense of beauty. Perhaps it was because she was gentle and quiet all year round, but her body felt soft to the touch, as if she had no bones. Although it wasn't as charming as Xiao Qi-Qing's, it wasn't too far off. What was worse was that the girl had a pure and obedient temperament in her bones. When she was being violated by a man, her submissive expression was especially pitiful. Yang Cheng had no time to think too much about what Li Jingjing was thinking at this moment. Just like what Jane told him, he tried his best to restore the pain Li Jingjing suffered before the incident. Let Li Jingjing face the most painful memory, and then break such painful memory. Only by fighting fire with fire could the girl's normal spirit be pulled back. Therefore, Yang Cheng's two big hands began to tear Li Jingjing's clothes up and down. He pulled the cotton trousers to her knees and pulled down the last layer of restraint. Li Jingjing's snow-white skin was exposed to the air like delicate silk. When Yang Cheng touched it lightly, it was dyed with a touch of captivating red. A pair of long legs were stretched taut. Between the gaps, the faint green grass seemed to be summoning a patch of spring. Yang Cheng's hand entered domineeringly and began to tease the girl's most mysterious light cord. The tender touch made the experienced Yang Cheng not dare to use too much force. In the passionate kiss, Li Jingjing's little tongue was softly teased by Yang Cheng. She had completely given up resistance. In her tearful eyes, she could only instinctively make a woo-woo sound. Her lower body was constantly being tormented by Yang Cheng, and she couldn't stop twisting her body. Yang Cheng's breathing became heavier and heavier. When he realized that the steel spear below him seemed to be about to explode, Yang Cheng no longer hesitated to take the last step. The arrow was already on the bow. It had to be released. After hugging the girl's body from the ground, Yang Cheng sat on the leather chair, and Li Jingjing's two slender legs were loosely riding on Yang Cheng's legs. The upright pillar in the middle was like a hungry tiger or wolf that was ready to rush into its prey's lair, ready to make its move. Although Li Jingjing was incomparably afraid, her body couldn't deceive her. The continuously dripping water stains on the ground indicated that the girl was ready to truly become a woman. In front of him, the girl's pair of tall and straight breasts were trembling. Yang Cheng buried his head between the pair of soft breasts and took a deep breath. Even if you want to hate me, I will accept it. Yang Cheng gritted his teeth and decisively pulled Li Jingjing's body to sit in the middle of his thighs. The moment they fell, it was as if a layer of paper that had been obstructed for 2 years suddenly broke open. Li Jingjing's delicate body quivered and stiffened there. Her throat let out a cry of pain. Let go of me. Woo-woo. The girl's tears fell like rain. Due to her instinct to protect herself, she opened her mouth and bit Yang Cheng's neck. Yang Cheng's body was tough, so he wasn't worried that Li Jingjing would bite through his arteries and blood vessels. He allowed the girl to bite on his body. A pair of big hands hugged Li Jingjing's slender waist and started to move the girl's perky buttocks up and down. Amidst the sound of water stains, the girl's narrow and winding path finally started to widen. Li Jingjing seemed to have lost all her strength and started to let Yang Cheng do as he pleased. She only let out a cry that seemed to be in pain and pleasure. At this moment, whether it was voluntary or forced, Li Jingjing felt the pain and joy of a woman for the first time. Yang Cheng slowly transferred the power of heaven and earth into Li Jingjing's body and repaired some of the damaged tissues. At the same time, Li Jingjing quickly stopped the bleeding and threw herself into it. She started to instinctively cater to him. In the Crimson office, the two of them panted for almost an hour. Li Jingjing had already surrendered 3 times in a row in exchange for Yang Cheng's pouring out. When Yang Cheng let out a long and comfortable roar, he finally let go of Li Jingjing's slender waist and took out the evil weapon from the woman's body. At this moment, the battlefield between the two of them had moved from the chair to the office table. Li Jingjing's 2 long legs were bent and hung on the edge of the table. Her body was covered with red kisses. Yang Cheng closed his eyes and calmed down for a while. Then, he went forward and slowly helped the girl up. The woman who was originally weak suddenly raised her arm and slapped Yang Cheng's face fiercely the moment she sat up. Slap! It was clean and crisp. It wasn't that Yang Cheng didn't notice it, but he didn't even think of dodging it. Turning his head, Yang Cheng stared at Li Jingjing's tear-stained and flushed face. He laughed and cried at the same time and touched his face that was slapped. "Jingjing, you bastard." Li Jingjing gritted her teeth and squeezed out 2 words. Yang Cheng's eyes flashed a trace of sadness, but it was also mixed with a sense of relief and joy. He smiled bitterly. "You finally remember." Li Jingjing looked at the man with her sparkling eyes. The office was extremely cold. Yang Cheng. After a long time, Li Jingjing looked at the man with incomparable seriousness and called out a stranger's name. "From today onwards, I, Li Jingjing, will never be able to raise my head in front of you and your wife again, because you took away the most important thing in my life." Speaking to this point, Li Jingjing suddenly grabbed Yang Cheng's right hand and placed it on her heart. Even if it happened to squeeze half of the snowball, Li Jingjing didn't care. "You took away my heart." Yang Cheng looked at the woman blankly, as if he was crazy. Li Jingjing suddenly revealed a bright and beautiful smile, and 2 streams of tears flowed down her cheeks. "So, I really love you." Chapter 11:30. As night fell, the Park family's mansion was brightly lit. When Park Cheon returned home and listened to the maid Eunyoung's report, he was so enraged that he changed all the bodyguards and servants. The entire mansion was now filled with new faces. Eunyoung's loyalty allowed her to be promoted to the position of housekeeper, but her main role was to take care of Jinxiu's daily life and act as a bodyguard. It was dinner time, and Park Cheon was in a good mood as he sat on his chair. He had a good appetite and was eating with his precious granddaughter. "Jinxiu, come and try this king crab. A girl won't get fat eating seafood, and it's nutritious. Look at your little face. You don't look so good these days." Park Cheon's eyes were filled with love as he personally scooped out all kinds of delicacies for Jinxiu. Jinxiu's mouth was already bulging, and the plate in front of her had already piled up into a small hill. "Grandfather, I really can't eat so much. Didn't you just recover from your illness? You should eat more." Park Cheon laughed. "Look at grandfather's body. I don't need any nourishment. Mr. Yang's medical skills are brilliant. The Huaxia civilization is indeed broad and profound. Hee hee." At this point, Park Cheon looked at Lin Ruoxi on the other side and said, "Miss Lin, is there any news from Mr. Yang? Is he still in the hospital?" "Yes, he should be back soon." Lin Ruoxi forced a smile and sighed silently in her heart. Looking at the table full of exquisite Korean dishes, she had no appetite to eat. In the evening, Jane, who was in the hospital, suddenly called her. She asked for Yang Cheng's assistance in the treatment, which made Lin Ruoxi freeze on the spot. Although Yang Cheng was a rascal, He was not the kind of man who did not dare to admit what he had done and needed others to speak up for him. Therefore, this call must have been from Jane. Although Jane's reason was out of consideration for Li Jingjing's condition, there was no doubt that she wanted Lin Ruoxi to be prepared that Yang Cheng would never give up on Li Jingjing. Actually, before she left the hospital, Lin Ruoxi already knew that Yang Cheng had made up his mind. But when things really got to this point, Lin Ruoxi still felt resentful and angry. The complicated emotions and feelings mixed together made Lin Ruoxi's heart feel stifled. If Li Jingjing could really use this kind of forced treatment to recover her memory, then Lin Ruoxi would definitely feel better and wouldn't feel so guilty towards the girl. But the price was to let Yang Cheng share a bit more of his feelings with him, which made Lin Ruoxi feel particularly wronged. But to say that she really hated Yang Cheng, Lin Ruoxi helplessly found that she could not hate him. After so many times, the two of them had a lot of conflicts because of those lovers. As she became more and more dependent on the man, she also understood more about Yang Cheng's growth and background. The existence of lovers seemed to have become a relatively normal thing in life. Even if she was not willing to admit it, at least at home, at least Guo Shuahua and Mother Wang had already become close family with Mo, Qianni, Qiang Wei, and Anxin. Even the little Lan Lan did not give face to her mother. Now, she had become somewhat resigned to adversity. She was used to her husband being surrounded by so many women, but she could do nothing about it. But she was always unwilling. It was such a contradiction that made Lin Ruoxi's heart feel suffocated when she thought about it. Perhaps this was a knot in her heart that could never be untied. Lin Ruoxi could only try her best not to think about it. Just as Lin Ruoxi was in a daze, there was movement at the door. She saw Yang Cheng walking in with a relaxed smile, followed by Li Jingjing, who had changed into a black leather trench coat and a red scarf. Although Yang Cheng did not seem to be anything special, Li Jingjing could not hide the shyness and uneasiness in her eyes. Mr. Yang is back. Ah, Teacher Vivian has recovered? Park Cheon was pleasantly surprised. Jinxiu also swallowed the food in her mouth and got up happily. She ran over and hugged Li Jingjing. Teacher, I knew Uncle would have a way. Teacher, do you remember who I am now? Li Jingjing helplessly stroked Jinxiu's hair. Although she was only a few years older than Jinxiu, Jinxiu obviously liked to act like a spoiled child in front of her. Yes, the lazy Su Jinxiu. Li Jingjing smiled. Jinxiu smiled sweetly and nodded vigorously. Yang Cheng greeted Park Cheon and walked over to Lin Ruoxi with a flattering smile. Dear, did you miss me? Lin Ruoxi stared at his face, which was obviously begging for mercy. She couldn't wait to tear him apart. She gritted her teeth and said, Didn't we just separate at noon? I miss you so much. Aya, it's the first time we've been apart for so long. My wife's figure keeps appearing in my mind. Honey, I've cured Jingjing. Shouldn't you praise me? Jane tried her best, but in the end, it was still me who saved her. Looking at Yang Cheng's serious face, Lin Ruoxi sneered, Stop pretending. Jane already called me and told me what you meant by forced treatment. Yang Cheng's words were stuck in his throat. His face stiffened and he smiled bitterly. Jane really told you everything. Word for word, very detailed. Lin Ruoxi said coldly. Yang Cheng inhaled sharply and muttered a few words that were incomprehensible. Then he closed his eyes and clasped his hands together. Thump! His knees hit the floor. He was kneeling. Not only Lin Ruoxi, but Jinxiu, Li Jingjing, Park Cheon, and all the servants who witnessed this scene were dumbfounded. Yang Cheng knelt down too quickly. He did not expect it at all and knelt beside Lin Ruoxi. You, what are you doing? Lin Ruoxi panicked. It was too embarrassing to do this in front of so many people. Yang Cheng pouted pitifully and said, I know you'll definitely be angry, but I really can't find an excuse to absolve myself. I can't say that I was forced to have sex with Jingjing either. Whether it was for my own selfish desires or for her illness, I feel that what I did was right and I have a clear conscience. But to you, this is indeed a hurt in your heart. You must think that I'm shameless, but I can be shameless in front of you. In short, honey, if you're angry with me, I'll accept your scolding and beating. But Ruashi, baby, I beg you, don't give me a Cold War, okay? If you don't talk to me for 10 days or half a month, it'll be worse than cutting me with a knife. Lin Ruashi was infuriated. She helped Yang Cheng up and cursed, "Damn Yang Cheng, do you have any dignity? Get up." Yang Cheng smiled foolishly and said, "Just like you're used to being angered by me, I'm also used to being shameless in front of you. Even if you kick me now, I'll accept it. Why don't you tell me what you want me to do so that you won't be angry? Should I buy you glutinous rice balls? Or should I buy you a diamond mine in Africa? I'll give you anything you want. Honey, I just beg you not to be angry." Even if Park Cheon and the others could not understand Mandarin, they could basically understand that Yang Cheng had done something wrong and was begging for forgiveness from Lin Ruashi. The group of people smiled rather strangely. No one could tell that Yang Cheng was so henpecked. Jinxiu, on the other hand, giggled. The girl had long known that Yang Cheng and Li Jingjing were having an affair. She guessed that Yang Cheng's philandering was acting up again. She walked to Li Jingjing's side and teased, "Teacher, your lover is begging for my sister Ruashi because of you. Aren't you going to say something?" Li Jingjing was stunned. In her opinion, Yang Cheng was a man of steel. How could he kneel in front of Lin Ruashi just like that? A man's knees were gold. Li Jingjing felt that the image of Brother Yang in her mind was completely shattered. However, this Yang Cheng felt more like flesh and blood and easier to get close to. At the same time, Li Jingjing could also feel that there was a huge gap between her and Lin Ruashi's position in Yang Cheng's heart. Only when he was completely devoted to his feelings could he put down his pride and willingly kneel on both knees instead of kneeling on one knee. While Li Jingjing felt a little guilty, she also knew that this was an inevitable manifestation of some contradictions. She crossed her hands and made up her mind to whisper, "Sister Ruashi, I know you must hate me, but I'll listen to you from now on." Chapter 1131. Lin Ruashi was at a loss for what to do with the man in front of her, but when she heard Li Jingjing's delicate pleading voice, her heart softened. Speaking of which, Li Jingjing was the first girl to know and like Yang Cheng. She had only forced Yang Cheng to marry because of one absurd night. Now that things had come to this, she was using her identity as a wife to stand on such a moral high ground. In the face of such a situation, how could she be like an evil woman? Thinking of this, Lin Ruashi looked at Yang Cheng angrily. It was all because of this bad guy, and he was even smiling foolishly at her. If it wasn't for him, would it be so difficult for her to be a human? Just as Lin Ruashi was struggling to make a decision, her legs tightened. Yang Cheng actually pounced on her and tightly hugged Lin Ruashi's two plump thighs. His entire head rested on her thighs as he began to rub them. "You? What are you doing? Let go." Lin Ruashi blushed. Why was this like a child acting coquettishly toward his mother? The surrounding crowd was also stunned. The thickness of Yang Cheng's skin had far exceeded everyone's expectations. Li Jingjing could hardly tell if Yang Cheng was seriously begging for mercy or if he was showing off. Yang Cheng used his face and palm to squeeze the soft flesh on Lin Ruashi's legs, smelling the fragrance as he shamelessly said, "Wife, if you don't forgive me, I'll kneel in front of you and not get up." Lin Ruashi was so angry that she was about to cry. "You bad guy, am I that easy to coax? Can't I be angry at you just because you're hugging my thigh? You're clearly bullying me. Then if I let go of your thigh, will you forgive me?" Yang Cheng was overjoyed and quickly let go of his hands. Lin Ruashi was so angry that she laughed. She bit her lips and finally let out a sigh. Ignoring Yang Cheng, she said to Li Jingjing, "Jingjing, come upstairs with me to talk about something." "Ah." Li Jingjing was stunned for a moment, but after she reacted, she immediately nodded in agreement. Lin Ruashi didn't stay any longer. She brought Li Jingjing upstairs, entered the guest room, and closed the door. There was a sudden silence downstairs. It was unknown when Yang Cheng had already gotten up. He slowly sat down on the seat that Lin Ruashi had been sitting on. He took Lin Ruashi's chopsticks and began to chew on the spicy cabbage. Then, he took Lin Ruashi's spoon and began to drink the soup. Park Cheon and the others stared at him blankly. The same word popped up in their minds. Heartless. Yang Cheng noticed that everyone was staring at him, and Park Cheon and Jinxiu had stopped eating. He grinned and said, "Why are you all looking at me? Let's eat. I think it'll be a while before Ruashi comes down. I'll use her bowl and chopsticks." Park Cheon smiled stiffly. "Mr. Yang, you're really unpredictable. What else can I do? My wife has to be coaxed. Try to reason with a woman is just asking for trouble. Just admit your mistakes obediently. What bullsh asterisk tea about a man's self-esteem? It's just for show. Especially someone like me who eats from my bowl and looks at the pot. It's especially important for me to admit my mistakes. For the sake of the bigger picture, this is a long-term solution. This is a valuable lesson that I've learned from countless painful lessons. If anyone is interested, feel free to share your insights with me." As he spoke, Yang Chung even greeted some of the bodyguards and made around him. He didn't feel embarrassed at all. Jinxiu sat down and pouted. "Brother Yang is getting more and more shameless. Aren't you worried that Miss Vivian will be scolded by Sister Ruashi?" Yang Chung shook his head. "That's impossible. If Ruashi is angry, it'll be directed at me. I've thought about it before I came back. I'll do anything for her." "Mr. Yang, you can't say that. It's nothing for a capable man to have 3 or 4 wives. Since ancient times, not to mention monogamy, even marriage is not something inevitable. An incompetent man can't even take care of 1 wife. A capable man can have more than a dozen women, each of them wearing gold and silver and living a comfortable life. Moreover, the relationship between a man and a woman isn't something that can be facilitated by just one party. So, Mr. Yang, you don't have to worry too much." Park Cheon waved his hand. Yang Chung smiled. Looks like President Park Cheon was quite a playboy when he was young. Park Cheon coughed and turned to look at Jinxiu, who was staring at him. He said awkwardly, "I'm just an old man. I'm not worth mentioning. Please enjoy your meal, Mr. Yang." "Grandfather, it seems like you don't dislike Brother Yang's approach," Jinxiu asked out of the blue. Park Cheon didn't expect Jinxiu to ask so bluntly. He hesitated for a moment before replying, "A capable man like Mr. Yang, it's understandable that there are many girls who like him." Although he didn't know Yang Cheng's true background, Park Cheon's sharp eyes could still see that Yang Cheng was not as ordinary as he appeared to be. Moreover, he possessed such a miraculous elixir. "Really?" Jinxiu chuckled to herself, her beautiful big eyes sparkling. Park Cheon looked at his granddaughter suspiciously. "Jinxiu, why do you ask all of a sudden?" Jinxiu was taken aback. She stuck out her tongue and pouted. "Nothing, I'm just asking." After that, Jinxiu quickly lowered her head and continued to eat the seafood. However, Park Cheon's eyes darted back and forth between Jinxiu and Yang Chun. A tinge of worry flashed across his eyes. Yang Chung, who everyone thought was shameless and heartless, was not as calm as he appeared on the surface. His mind kept drifting to the room upstairs, wondering what Lin Ruashi would say to Li Jingjing. With Lin Ruashi's means and wisdom, Li Jingjing would definitely not be able to handle it. Although Li Jingjing said that she would not feel ashamed anymore, how could she not feel guilty? Resisting the urge to use his divine sense to investigate, Yang Chung felt that he had to respect Lin Ruashi's decision. After dinner, they watched TV downstairs for a while before there was some movement in the guest room upstairs. Lin Ruashi came down with Li Jingjing. She looked a little tired, but no longer angry. Yang Chung gulped and looked at Li Jingjing. The woman did not seem to have cried either. While he was slightly relieved, he was particularly curious about what Lin Ruashi had said. As if she could hear Yang Cheng's thoughts, Lin Ruashi snorted softly. "Don't worry, I won't curse people behind their backs." Yang Chung grinned. "Of course not. I know you are the most magnanimous." Lin Ruashi sighed softly. "I've talked to Jingjing. She's also thinking about her parents in Zhonghai, so she has decided to stop studying for her doctorate and return to Zhonghai to continue working in education. I can't help you with this. Talk to Mom and arrange for her to work in the education bureau or something." Li Jingjing hurriedly said, "No, there's no need. Sister Ruashi, I can go teach in a high school. Don't be so polite. If you become a teacher, if you encounter those difficult students and ill-intentioned leaders, will this guy be at ease?" Lin Ruashi rolled her eyes at Yang Chung. "Right?" Yang Chung nodded embarrassedly. You are so thoughtful. I will ask my mom to arrange it. An ordinary position in the Education Bureau was not a problem for Li Jingjing. It was stable and safe. Women would not have nothing to do, and it would not be too tiring. With the influence of the Yang family, this was not worth mentioning. Li Jingjing was touched, and her eyes couldn't help but moisten. Sister Ruashi, thank you. Lin Ruashi reached out and squeezed Li Jingjing's hand. After returning to Zhonghai, remember to continue teaching me how to cook. I will cook at your house, so that my mother-in-law won't say that I'm clumsy. Li Jingjing nodded and smiled sweetly. Jinxiu was a little unhappy. Sister Ruashi, if you take teacher Vivian away, won't I be without a teacher? You can change teachers or go to a university here. Yuo Women's University is quite suitable for a rich lady like you. Lin Ruashi smiled. Jinxiu pouted and looked aggrieved. Li Jingjing smiled at Jinxiu regretfully and walked to Park Chion and bowed. Thank you for taking care of me all this time, President. I have decided to return to Zhonghai. My parents need to be taken care of there, and I belong there. I'm sorry that I can't teach Jinxiu. Park Chion did not mind. In fact, the old man had already guessed this. He waved his hand and said, It's all right. I will talk to the American side. Teacher Vivian is always welcome to visit Jinxiu in Korea. The matter was settled quite smoothly. Li Jingjing packed her luggage early the next morning and returned to Huaxia. For a woman who had not been home for a year, she found out that they had been working hard to earn money behind her back. Her longing for them had reached an extreme point. After sending Li Jingjing back to her apartment to pack her luggage, Yang Chung could not help but ask Lin Ruashi curiously. Ruashi, babe, you talked to Li Jingjing for so long, and you only talked about her returning to China? Lin Ruashi walked back to her room. Yes, so what? That's impossible. It's been so long. How can you only talk about this one thing? Lin Ruashi glanced at him tiredly. I'm tired. Ask Li Jingjing if you want to know. Yang Chung was speechless and could only shut his mouth obediently. When he returned to Zhonghai, he must ask Li Jingjing what they talked about. While Lin Ruashi was taking a shower, Yang Chung called Guo Xiuhua. When Guo Xiuhua learned that her son had magically added a daughter-in-law to her, she did not know whether to laugh or cry. However, for a girl with a double master's degree in American education and foreign languages, and who grew up in a simple family, Guo Xiuhua quite liked this kind of background. She promised to arrange a suitable position for Li Jingjing. Chapter 1132. What Yang Chung didn't know was that Guo Xiuhua was busy with other things at home in the western suburb of Zhonghai. She didn't have the time to ask about the details and quickly hung up. After hanging up, Guo Xiuhua quickly ran to a brand new mahjong table in the living room and sat down happily. It's so good to have an automatic mahjong table now. The tiles are organized so quickly. Back when I was at my parents' house, this thing hadn't come out yet. Every time I played mahjong, my hand would be so sore. As Guo Xiuhua said this, she had already started to arrange the tiles. Beside this new mahjong table sat three beautiful women in casual clothes. They were Mo Qinyi, Anxin, and Si Yao Qiqing. Anxin giggled. Mom, you're so out of touch with the times. Mahjong machines have been around for a long time. It's not like it's some high-tech machine. Guo Xiuhua rolled her eyes at Anxin. You child, you still have the time to scold me for being outdated? Look at you. How much money have you lost? Jiqing just learned how to play mahjong, but she's already playing like a demon. As she said this, she looked at Xiao Qiqing with satisfaction. You're indeed Yulan's daughter. You're so smart. Xiao Qiqing smiled lightly, her face brimming with happiness at the mention of her mother. Not at all. Mom is still the best. Mo Qinyi, who was sitting next to her, couldn't stand it anymore. She said sourly, Mom, you're so easily bought over. Jiqing is a computer science student. She can easily figure out how to play mahjong. All she did was put a few more tiles for you. You keep praising her, oh. Guo Xiuhua played a red card and said unhappily, Are you jealous? Qinyi, you should learn from Anxin. You've lost more than 100,000 and you're still sitting there obediently. You didn't even lose any money. How dare you say Mom relied on Jiqing? Mo Qinyi glanced at an exine, who didn't dare to make a sound. She curled her lips and said, "An Exine isn't obedient. It's just a few 100,000. For a rich lady like an Exine who has billions in assets, of course she wouldn't mind. An office worker like me can't afford to lose 1,000 games." Because she had known Mo Chinny for a long time, Guo knew that Mo Chinny was joking. What's there to be afraid of? If we lose it all, we can ask Yang Chung for it. That kid hit it well. Before I attended his wedding, I didn't even know he was filthy rich. You girls, don't compete with Ruashi for the position of the first wife. Don't even think about it. As for money and jewelry, feel free to blackmail Yang Chung. Just tell him that I, as his mother, approved it. Seeing Guo Shuahua's straightforward words, Xiao Qiqing couldn't help but snicker. "Mom, do you dare to say such things in front of Sister Ruashi?" Guo Shuahua heard this and immediately reached out to pinch Xiao Qiqing's cheek. "You stinky girl! You dare to mock your mother-in-law? Why wouldn't I dare? But Ruashi is the first wife. She'll be taking over my position in the Yang family. In order to make things easier for Yang Chung, we have to get along well. Do you think I'm afraid of her?" Just as Guo Shuahua and one of the 3 daughters-in-law were joking and scolding each other, Mother Wang walked in from the main living room. Mother Wang carried a plate of sliced cantaloupe and placed it next to Xiao Qiqing. She patted her daughter's head dotingly and smiled. "What are you guys talking about? Why is it so lively here? What else can I say? I'm just talking nonsense," Guo Shuahua teased. "But Yulan, you're too biased. You're always so nice to your daughter. Ruashi will be so sad when she comes back." Mother Wang blushed. "You're exaggerating. I watched Miss grow up too. Isn't it the same?" Xiao Qiqing giggled. "Mom, I won 130,000. Sister Anshin is so generous. I'll go online and buy a BV bag for you. I saw an orange one that suits you very well." "What BV? I'm just buying groceries. Moreover, we have a lot of branded bags at home." Mother Wang looked at the pile of red $100 bills on Xiao Qiqing's table. It was almost like a small hill. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Io, why did you guys bring so much cash? This place is like a casino in a Hong Kong movie." Not only was there a huge pile of cash, but there were also 7 to 8 suitcases in the side living room. Anshin pouted. "Mom said we have to bring cash. We're not allowed to keep it." "That's true. It's not like we don't have any money. It's more interesting to play mahjong with cash. No matter who we lose, we're all family." Guo Shuehua was excited. Mother Wang sighed helplessly. "If Miss knew that you guys bought a mahjong machine and played mahjong together for so many days after she left, I'm afraid she'll be angry for a few days." Anshin said worriedly. "Mother Wang, you have to say something. Mom only asked me to play mahjong. I'm innocent. Look at you. Why are you behaving like a mouse seeing a cat when you see Ruashi? She's even the chairman." Guo Shuehua scolded jokingly. "All right, I was the one who bought this mahjong machine. I was also the one who asked you guys to come over to relieve my boredom. Isn't this good? You guys don't have many chances to interact with each other. Since you're a family, play mahjong and get to know each other better. That way, you guys won't be jealous of each other in the future." Anshin smiled embarrassedly and nodded. "Mom, you're really far-sighted." Mo Chinny couldn't help but laugh. The 3 girls looked at each other a few times and could see the smile in each other's eyes. In fact, the girls knew of each other's existence and didn't have any thoughts of competing for Lin Ruashi's favor. Firstly, Yang Chung was a typical ferocious fighter. No woman could satisfy him alone. Secondly, no matter how much they fought, they couldn't compete with Lin Ruashi. So they gave up on that thought and just enjoyed their own little happiness. Most importantly, all the girls were following Yang Chung in their cultivation. They knew that they could stay young forever and their lifespan would be greatly increased. It was as if they were already different from ordinary people. Everyone was walking on the same special path, so they seemed to be especially close. Most of them admired and liked each other. That's right, Guo Shuehua continued to play mahjong proudly. She suddenly thought of something and asked, "Why haven't I seen Xiang Wei and Mingyu these 2 days? Choi Yun doesn't have time to catch criminals, but can Xiang Wei and Mingyu be so busy?" Mo Chinny, on the other hand, got along with Xiang Wei and Lu Mingyu daily and said, Qiang Wei is most interested in cultivation. She said that she comprehended a bit of the soul formation stage in the past 2 days and is in seclusion. Mingyu went to Paris on a business trip. She's from the public relations department, so it's inevitable for her to go on a business trip. Wow, Sister Qiang Wei is so amazing. Xiao Qi understood some of the details of cultivation the best. Didn't you only cultivate for such a short period of time? You've already comprehended the soul formation stage? Yes, my husband also mentioned that Xiang Wei's aptitude is probably not worse than his. It seems that even Kai Ning in Beijing might not be as good as Qiang Wei. Mo Qianyi also said with some envy. Anqing thought of something and asked curiously, Mom, why don't you cultivate? If we stay so young in the future and you become old, we will be very sad. Guo Shuhua looked at Anqing with a smile. You only know how to please adults. I don't think you should be called Anqing, but happy. Actually, Yang Cheng also mentioned this, but because Yulan and I are already old, our essence, qi, and spirit are no longer strong enough. We don't have time to cultivate from the beginning. If we forcefully cultivate, our meridians will not be able to bear it. So he only let us take some pills and do some breathing exercises. This way, we can also prolong our lives, and it won't hurt our foundation. Yang Cheng would only talk about these things with Guo Hua and Mother Wang in private. He wouldn't tell the women, so they just found out. It was already late at night. Min Wan, who had been taking care of Lan Lan upstairs, finally came downstairs and entered the side hall to watch the women play mahjong. Guo Hua smiled and asked, Min Wan, do you want to play? Min Wan hurriedly shook her head. No, I can't afford to play. This game costs thousands of yuan. It's just a fun game. It's not real gambling. Guo Hua smiled helplessly and asked, Is Lan Lan asleep? Min Wan nodded. Yes, I wanted Lan Lan to sleep on my bed, but she insisted on sleeping on her mother's bed. It's as if she can fall asleep just by smelling Miss Lin's bed. Guo Hua sighed and nodded. I don't know what happened, but this child really hit it off with Ruoshi. If I didn't know better, I would have thought that she is Ruoshi's biological daughter. Speaking of this, Guo Hua glanced at the women and said, All of you, work harder. Although Yang Cheng is very special, and it's not easy for him to make you pregnant, it's not impossible. Don't always think about waiting for Yang Cheng to find you. Take the initiative. The women blushed and didn't know what to say. Guo Hua really didn't hold back her words in front of them. Mother Wang broke the silence and said, Hua, was it young master who called just now? What did he say? Guo Hua smiled and said, he said that he met a girl called Li Jingjing in Korea, whom he knew in Zhonghai. He asked me to arrange a position in the education bureau for her, and he's coming back to Zhonghai. Li Jingjing? Isn't she in the United States? Mother Wang remembered Li Jingjing and laughed. Young master, don't tell me. What else can I do? Give me a daughter-in-law. Guo Hua said to the girls, You guys have another sister. If this goes on, I think we should buy 2 mahjong tables at home, even though we don't have enough for now. The women looked at each other, as if they were imagining how it would be if there were 2 mahjong tables at home and more than 10 women gathered together. Chapter 1133. Park Residence, in the guest room on the 2nd floor. After taking a shower, Lin Ruoshi blow-dried her hair. Wearing her cotton-padded pajamas, she silently hid under the covers. Yang Cheng quickly ran to the bathroom to take a shower. After drying his body, he grinned and planned to go to bed to perform. Although he had done it with Li Jingjing for more than an hour in the afternoon, how could Yang Cheng be satisfied? Moreover, Lin Ruoshi was obviously unhappy and sulking. Yang Cheng felt that if he could work harder in his life as a couple, it would be easier to eliminate this unhappiness. However, just as he was about to go to bed, Lin Ruoshi suddenly turned her head and stared coldly at Yang Cheng. Get down. Huh? I'll go. Lin Ruoshi said coldly without the slightest emotion. Without my permission, you're not allowed to go to bed. Listening to the irresistible words, Yang Cheng silently climbed off the bed with a wronged expression and knelt on the floor. Darling, you don't have to be so cruel. I've already knelt in front of so many people. You can't make me be so pitiful in front of everyone. Did I make you kneel? I told you to get up, but it seems like you're not willing to get up. What? Is it wrong for you to sleep on the floor now? Yang Chung was so stifled that he couldn't say a word. He put on an innocent expression and obediently laid down on the floor. Seeing that Yang Chung was obedient and no longer tormented her, Lin Ruoxi coldly snorted, turned around, turned off the bedside lamp, and began to sleep. Lying on the floor, Yang Chung tossed and turned for more than an hour. He waited until the wee hours of the morning, but he still couldn't fall asleep. It wasn't that he felt that Lin Ruoxi was too much. In fact, he was already prepared for a Cold War. Now that Lin Ruoxi didn't refuse to talk to him like before, he was already deeply grateful. How could he dare to hope that she would treat him well? On the contrary, when he calmed down and thought about it carefully, Lin Ruoxi's arrangements for Li Jingjing today really warmed his heart. Lin Ruoxi clearly made the decision to have sex with Li Jingjing behind her back, but although she was angry, she still rationally did not do anything to Li Jingjing. Instead, she told Li Jingjing to go back to Zhonghai and take care of old Li and his wife. Come to think of it, his wife was becoming more and more magnanimous. No matter if it was forced or if she was sincere, Yang Chun felt grateful and guilty. He could only try his best to be obedient in front of her and make her happier. Since Lin Ruoxi could take care of other women, of course, he should also care more about her. As he thought about it, Yang Chung slowly crawled to the side where Lin Ruoxi was sleeping. He knelt on the floor and laid his body on the edge of the bed. Faint starlight shone through the window and scattered on the woman's delicate face. Lin Ruoxi's jet-black hair was like a black satin that clung tightly to her face, making her exquisite face that was like a beauty from the Moon Palace look especially refined like a fairy. Her pink and tender red lips were slightly pouting because of the pressure on her face. The beautiful lines at the corner of her lips made her lips look especially thin and soft. Her long eyelashes trembled slightly as her eyelids trembled. Her mouth and nose breathed out an alluring fragrance. The fragrance was warm and refreshing. Just like that, he watched silently. Yang Chung somewhat foolishly stretched out his slightly rough palm and gently stroked his lover's face, as if he was afraid that the exquisite porcelain would be damaged. A silky touch flowed through his fingertips. Lin Ruoxi's delicate nose twitched. Her beautiful eyes slowly opened, and a luster in her eyes flowed. "Why are you awake? Are you a light sleeper?" Lin Ruoxi looked at the man who was lying on the edge of the bed and whispered, "How long have you been watching?" Yang Chung muttered to himself for a moment, then said, 10 minutes or so. "Is it good?" "Very good." The corner of Lin Ruoxi's mouth curled up into a beautiful arc, as if she was smiling. Yang Chung did not retract his hand, but rubbed Lin Ruoxi's face fondly. Uncontrollably, Yang Chung sighed with emotion. "Ruoxi, do you know, sometimes when I look at you, I feel that time is not real. A person who is too beautiful will disappear in the blink of an eye. Just by relying on the reason for your existence, you can produce illusions just like the stars outside the window tonight, the world of stars. I'm curious about your sincerity, so I've been watching silently from the beginning, and I won't get tired of it. Now that I've been with you for a long time, I finally understand how dazzling you are. That's why I feel that sometimes you're so far away from me. I'm very afraid that you will disappear like a meteor, and also afraid that you will disappear like a star after a flash, even if it's so beautiful." Listening to the man's words, Lin Ruoxi's eyes were slightly moist. Pursing her lips, she said softly, It would be great if you could always treat me so seriously." Yang Chung laughed involuntarily. "It's not that I'm not serious, but you never believe that I'm serious." "Nonsense." Lin Ruoxi pouted. Yang Chung chuckled and said, "Wife, did you vent your anger? I saw you smile." Lin Ruoxi rolled her eyes at him and didn't say anything, which could be considered as tacit agreement. Yang Chung raised his eyebrows and said, "Then do you want me to do something that makes you feel serious?" "What?" Lin Ruoxi was curious and wanted to hear some sweet words from the man. Yang Chung suddenly chuckled. "There's still 3 hours before dawn. Since we're both awake, why don't we take advantage of the darkness of the night and make love?" The warm and sweet atmosphere that Lin Ruoxi felt a moment ago was thrown into a pile of dog sh*t. Furious, the woman stood up abruptly, grabbed a pillow, and threw it at the man with both hands. Yang Chung, go to hell. The night passed amidst all kinds of angry curses and screams. Naturally, Yang Chun wasn't able to fire the cannonball that he had been waiting for. Fortunately, amidst the abuse, Lin Ruoshi temporarily untied the knot in her heart. It wasn't the first time she was angered because of a lover. This time, it wasn't a woman who appeared out of nowhere, but Li Jingjing, whom she had known for a long time, so it was easier for her to accept. The next morning, Park Cheon went to the hospital for a checkup. The doctors in the hospital exclaimed that they had seen a miracle. Park Cheon's physical condition was as good as a strong man in his 40s. He didn't look like an old man who had just undergone major surgery. Park Cheon was confident that he would be able to run Star Moon Group for another decade or so. Of course, the family inheritance ceremony would still be carried out and the company would still be handed over to Jinxiu. After all, retreating behind the scenes as the chairman and managing Star Moon Group with Jinxiu was what Park Cheon wanted the most. There was less than a week left before the grand handover ceremony on November 11th. The entire Star Moon Group and the Park family were busy preparing for the details. After Li Jingjing returned to Zhonghai, Park Cheon didn't hire a private tutor for Jinxiu. Instead, he enrolled Jinxiu in Yuo Women's University to study with the young ladies of Korea, hoping to expand Jinxiu's network in Korea. With her status as the future heir of Star Moon Group, even if Jinxiu didn't pay attention to anyone, there would still be many people who would try their best to flirt with her. However, Jinxiu wasn't interested in making friends with girls who only cared about status and money. Most of the time, she would go in and out with her personal maid, Unyung, or go shopping outside Yuo Women's University. While Lin Ruoshi and Yang Chung were still in Seoul, Jinxiu dragged them around Seoul on weekends to enjoy themselves. Just one day before the handover ceremony, at a Korean family restaurant, the three of them were tired of seafood and other delicacies at Unyung's recommendation and decided to try some plain, bland dishes. Lin Ruoshi was quite enthusiastic about the seaweed rice wrap. Perhaps it was because the wrap was shaped like a glutinous rice ball. Lin Ruoshi held the seaweed rice wrap in her hands and nibbled on it like a chick pecking at grains. Yang Chung only cared about watching this woman eat. It was rare for her to eat with such gusto. She was very cute. "Honey, come here." Yang Chung hooked his finger at the woman and gestured for Lin Ruoshi to come closer. When Lin Ruoshi saw the strange smile on Yang Cheng's face, she suddenly thought that this man wanted to do something bad. Come closer? Don't tell me he wants to kiss me? For the past 2 days, she didn't allow Yang Chung to go to bed with her. Lin Ruoshi felt that this guy must have been suffocated to want to kiss her in a restaurant. Thinking of this, Lin Ruoshi blushed and said in a low voice, "I won't. You want to do something bad again, right? There are so many people watching, and you're not embarrassed at all." Yang Chung didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He leaned over and reached out his hand to remove a grain of rice from the corner of Lin Ruoshi's mouth. "Woman, you've been so silly lately. You've eaten all the rice wrap on your face, and you're still thinking about this. If the washing powder in your company knew about this, they would vomit blood. I'm eating. Do you think you can eat as much as a rice ball? And you're doing something bad. TSK. This means that you have a psychological problem. Don't tell me you're waiting for me to kiss you." Yang Chung blinked. Lin Ruoshi blushed and wanted to find a hole to hide in. Especially when she saw Jinxiu and Unyung snickering, she gritted her teeth. However, she was indeed thinking too much. Lin Ruoshi was furious. In the end, she could only puff up her mouth and hold back her anger. When Yang Chung saw this expression, he was amused again. "I was wondering why Lan Lan acknowledged you as her mother. When you puff up your mouth, you really look like a chubby little girl. Both mother and daughter have bun-like faces." "Ha!" Seeing Yang Chung convulsing with laughter, Lin Ruoshi finally couldn't help but throw the seaweed wrap in her hand at Yang Cheng's body. "Stinky Yang Chung, go out and sleep tonight." Chapter 1134. After 2 days of fun, the honeymoon in South Korea didn't end in a miserable state. However, before leaving Korea, Yang Chung and Lin Ruoshi still had to attend the Park family's official succession ceremony. Park Cheon would leave his position as president, which meant that the position of CEO would be handed over to Jinxiu. It might seem a little exaggerated for a girl who was not even 20 years old to be the CEO of such a world-class company, but the outside world knew that Park Cheon would still teach Jinxiu step by step. Jinxiu was only a name for the past few years and was still in the learning stage, so it was not too shocking. What intrigued the outside world the most was that the Park family succession ceremony was not only about the inheritance of the company's assets, but also the Park family's inheritance of Star Moon that had been passed down from generation to generation. Some of the older members of the wealthy families in Korea only knew that the head of the Park family was the only one who knew the true use of Star Moon. Outsiders were completely unaware of it. Some speculated that it was a rare treasure, some guessed that it was a secret formula, and some even speculated that it was a large amount of gold and gems buried by the Park family's ancestors as a foundation for the Park family to rise again in the event of its downfall. However, all of these were just speculations. No one really knew what kind of family secrets were hidden in it. On the 11th of the Seoul Hotel Shilla, which was owned by the Star Moon Group, the largest auditorium of the entire hotel was booked by the Park family. The fact that the Park family was able to occupy such a place where the leaders of Korea entertained their distinguished guests was a testament to the influence of the Star Moon Group. Yang Chung wore a suit prepared for him by Lin Ruoshi. When he and Lin Ruoshi appeared in the auditorium, there were already hundreds of upper-class guests waiting for them. Some mainstream media reporters were also arranged to film in the front. The family succession ceremony of the Star Moon Group was also a piece of upper-class news that the outside world was paying attention to. The waiters who were shuttling back and forth were all dressed in the most quaint of Korean clothes, highlighting the solemnity of the ceremony. Since Yang Chung had specifically requested that the couple be left alone, Park Cheon did not come to greet them to avoid attracting attention. At noon, Park Cheon strode onto the stage with a flourish accompanied by the sound of music. Everyone gasped in awe at the sight of the well-dressed and ruddy old president. Everyone knew that Park Cheon had just recovered from a serious illness. They thought that he would be sickly, but they did not expect him to be in such good spirits. Such a scene was enough to send Star Moon Group's stock price skyrocketing on the internet. After all, Park Cheon was the founder and pillar of the company. His influence, as long as he was healthy, was immense. Park Cheon displayed a powerful aura at that moment. With just a glance, the hundreds of guests below the stage fell silent. Regardless of whether they were from the same generation or the younger generation, everyone began to listen respectfully. Apart from the flashing lights and the sound of cameras, the venue was completely silent. Thank you, everyone, for coming to the Park family's handover ceremony today. At the same time, this is also the day when the CEO of the Star Moon Group will be officially announced. Those who know me well know that I'm not a person who likes to beat around the bush, so I'll be straightforward with what I want to announce. I, Park Cheon, have decided to hand over the position of the head of the family to my eldest granddaughter, Su Jinxiu, in accordance with the principle of seniority in the family and the principle of bloodline inheritance. Jinxiu is the biological daughter of my eldest daughter, Park Ji. Although her surname is Su, she is indeed the flesh and blood of the Park family. I hope that the family can provide sufficient support. Jinxiu is still young and needs the guidance of the uncles. I will also supervise her from the sidelines to become a qualified successor as soon as possible. Furthermore, Star Moon Group is the main company of the Park family and the result of decades of hard work. I've been the CEO of the group for more than 30 years, and I'm tired. I've weighed the talents and wisdom of all my children and grandchildren and have decided to hand over my position to Jinxiu. You don't have to worry about Jinxiu being too young to manage the company. My old bones are still very strong. After the handover, I'll retire behind the scenes and continue to be the CEO. Park Cheon's announcement in high spirits was almost the same as what everyone had guessed. Previously, some were worried that Jinxiu would not be able to withstand such pressure due to her young age. But now, it seemed that the handover was only in name. Since Park Cheon was in such good health, it was more likely that he would be managing the affairs from behind the curtains. However, it also put an end to the thoughts of the other Park family members and collateral descendants. At the same time, it also served as a warning that something similar to Park Jong-un's should never happen again. After announcing these two matters, Park Chi-yeon smiled amiably and waved at Jinxiu, who was behind the stage, to invite his granddaughter onto the stage. Jinxiu was wearing a white, lace-ruffled princess dress. The round collar in front of her chest outlined the perfect curve of her chest. Her beautiful collarbone and delicate waist made her look particularly youthful and dazzling. Her silky black hair was scattered over her shoulders and looked particularly attractive under the spotlight. Her delicate skin and beautiful features made the eyes of many young playboys below the stage glow. These people were used to playing with female celebrities who had undergone plastic surgery. Naturally, they had no resistance against this natural beauty who had no signs of surgery. Below the stage, there was a burst of applause, cheers, and praises. Many people could not help but sigh. This was what it meant to be born with a silver spoon in your mouth. Whoever married her would not only have a beauty in their arms, but also a mountain of gold. Even Jinxiu herself would never have imagined that she, who grew up in an orphanage and lost both her parents at a young age, would one day become the focus of the upper class's attention and envy. She would become a rich woman who could own tens of billions of assets without having to do anything. If she had once fallen into depravity, drug addiction, or murder, none of this would have happened. She would not have met the person she wanted to meet, and everything that happened later would not have happened. She would not be where she was today. Life was built by all kinds of coincidences and accidents, but it was also like a little bit of self-persistence and adherence to principles. Park Chi-yeon was pleased with the crowd's praise. Although it was directed at Jinxiu, as an elder, Park Chi-yeon was particularly pleased. For an old man who did not have long to live, a child who could inherit his will and legacy was the greatest work of art he needed to create in the final stage of his life. There was no doubt that Jinxiu, who he had gone through so much trouble to find, had enough potential even though he had yet to finish carving her. Jinxiu, say hello to everyone. Park Chi-yeon smiled. Jinxiu was a little nervous, but she still greeted the people below the stage according to etiquette, treating it as a formal meeting. Park Chi-yeon held Jinxiu's small shoulders to reassure his granddaughter. Everyone, I actually have one more thing to announce today. It's something that I've never mentioned before. Below the stage, there were all kinds of guesses. They did not understand what Park Chi-yeon was up to. Jinxiu also looked up curiously. Her grandfather had never mentioned this before. Park Chi-yeon was unmoved. He said in a clear voice, "In order for our Jinxiu to on-sheen as soon as possible and start learning how to manage a company, I have arranged a beautiful marriage for her." Wow! The crowd was in an uproar. Most of them were shocked. Jinxiu's pretty face was pale as she stared at Park Chi-yeon. She could not believe that such a thing would happen. "Grandfather, why are you?" Without waiting for Jinxiu to say anything, Park Chi-yeon frowned at the girl and whispered into the microphone, "Let's talk after we get off the stage." Yang Chung, who had been listless all this while, looked over in confusion. Lin Ruoshi, who was beside him, asked, "Hubby, Jinxiu's marriage? Is it a marriage with the Gong family?" Yang Chung shook his head. "I don't think so. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said it so suddenly." For some reason, Yang Chung felt nervous, but he did not know what he was nervous about. Closer to the stage were the father and son, Gong Jiacheng and Gong Wu of the Gong family. Their brows were tightly furrowed, and their eyes were filled with dissatisfaction. Park Chi-yeon continued, "I believe many of you know that the legal counsel of Star Moon Group has always been Lawyer Kim of the Kim family. Lawyer Kim's beloved son, Kim Jip, has always been my most trusted bodyguard. Rather than a bodyguard, he is more like a grandson that I have watched grow up. I have seen Kim Jip's character and talent. Coincidentally, Kim Jip and Jinxiu are of similar age. Although the Kim family has always been in the legal profession, they have been on good terms with the Park family for generations. Lawyer Kim and I are good friends. The two of us hit it off and have decided to have a marriage between Jinxiu and Kim Jip." Chapter 11:35. His words immediately caused an uproar in the audience. No one could have imagined that Park Cheon would arrange a marriage between his future heir and the Kim family. Kim Jip, who had returned from the Korean Special Forces. However, as long as a thoughtful person thought about it carefully, they would realize that the older, the wiser. Park Cheon's marriage alliance was the most logical thing in the world. Although the Kim family was neither a wealthy family nor a high-ranking political family, it was still a family that no one dared to underestimate. It was said that the Kim family's ancestors were criminal officials during the Goguryeo era. Generations of their family had been engaged in legal work. The Kim family's law firm spanned the world and provided legal counsel to many large Korean enterprises. For a family with such a long history, their biggest backer was none other than the connections and relationships that had been accumulated through generations of business. The Kim family did not provoke anyone, but instead helped the other major families. How could they not be pleased? How could the crowd not give them face? Moreover, the Kim family had never been involved in business or politics for generations. Kim Jip, for example, had served in the military for a few years in the Special Forces before giving up the opportunity to become an officer. When he returned home, he chose to be a bodyguard instead of a lawyer. He would never engage in any other professions that involved conflicts of interest. Now that the Park family had chosen Su Jinxiu as their heir, their biggest concern was whether she would be swallowed up by the man after she got married and had children. It wouldn't be suitable to look for any of the big families. Only a family like the Kim family, which has been reliable for generations and has a good relationship with the Park family, would be the most reassuring. Moreover, Kim Jip was a quiet but good-looking young man. Park Cheon had watched him grow up. His character was impeccable, and he was indeed a good match for Jinxiu. As for whether there was a relationship between the man and the woman, most of the people present would not consider such a factor. Relationships between men and women were a joke in this materialistic upper-class society. When the crowd realized this, they could not help but look at the young man who had been standing silently at the back of the stage. Kim Jip's expression was as cold as ever. He was dressed in a white shirt and was holding 3 metal balls in his hand. No one could tell what was on his mind. Below the stage, the Gong father and son's faces were as black as charcoal. Gong Jicheng snorted in anger and turned to leave the hall. Gong Wu followed suit. Some people noticed this scene, but they didn't look too much. Instead, they mocked him in their hearts. On the stage, Jinxiu's pretty face was flushed red. Everyone thought that the girl was shy, but Jinxiu was just angry and sullen. Jinxiu didn't dislike that Kim Jip, but she had never spoken to him. So why did she suddenly want to establish a marriage contract with him? No matter how displeased Jinxiu was, she could not afford to argue with Park Cheon in front of so many people. She could only bite her lower lip and frown. After listening to Yang Cheng's translation, Lin Ruoshi was also surprised. How can this be? This is too arbitrary. Lin Ruoshi couldn't help but grumble. Yang Cheng smiled bitterly. Isn't that how big families are? The interests of the entire family come first. Choosing Kim Jip for Jinxiu is better than choosing Gong Wu. Lin Ruoshi rolled her eyes at the man. You make it sound so easy, but you must be feeling terrible inside. What's wrong with me? What does this have to do with me? Yang Cheng feigned nonchalance. Lin Ruoshi was obviously skeptical. Come on, I can tell. You look like you've eaten a dead cockroach. You're feeling terrible inside. Yang Cheng said righteously, Dear, you can't think of me as such a dirty person. Although I'm dirty, Jinxiu is like a little sister to me. Did I say that you have improper thoughts about Jinxiu? You said it yourself. Lin Ruoshi glared at him coldly. Yang Cheng froze. He clicked his tongue and shrugged his shoulders bitterly. So you were trying to trick me? Lin Ruoshi's expression suddenly turned serious. She coldly widened her eyes and said, If you dare to not even let Jinxiu go, I will. I will. She wanted to say something, but Lin Ruoshi just couldn't think of what to say. Divorce? Ignore him? Even he doubted whether he could do it. Yang Cheng didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he reached out and hugged the woman. All right, don't swear anymore. It's impossible for me and Jinxiu to be together. She bickered with me all day and even competed with me. Does she look like she likes me? Lin Ruashi thought to herself, "It's because Jinxiu treats you like this that I feel uneasy." However, he wouldn't say these words out loud. He could only sigh silently. Involuntarily, Lin Ruashi wished she could leave Korea as soon as possible. After the banquet, they finally returned to the Park family after socializing with the major families, celebrities, and politicians. Along the way, Jinxiu tried everything she could to get Park Cheon to rescind the marriage. She threw a tantrum, but Park Cheon refused to budge. He didn't have the slightest hint of his usual obedience. Although it was only a verbal engagement, and there wasn't a specific date for the marriage, it was like a boulder weighing down on Jinxiu's heart. She couldn't even breathe properly. As soon as they arrived at the central hall of the Park family's mansion, Jinxiu immediately ran to Yang Cheng and grabbed his hand, begging, "Brother Yang, please help me persuade Grandpa. Grandpa listens to you very much." Yang Cheng looked at Park Cheon awkwardly. "I say, girl, I'm an outsider and I can't interfere. Besides, Kim Jip is a very honest young man. Don't hurt him like that." As he spoke, Yang Cheng glanced at Kim Jip, who had been silent all this while. As usual, Kim Jip was by Park Cheon's side. Sometimes, people would think that his facial nerves were dead. Jinxiu pouted angrily and said to Kim Jip, "Hey, Kim Jip, say something. I haven't even spoken to you. Do you think we can get married? Don't act like you didn't hear anything." Park Cheon frowned. "Jinxiu, how can you speak to Kim Jip so rudely? He's your fiancé." Kim Jip was still expressionless. He couldn't even be bothered to respond to Jinxiu. Jinxiu stomped her feet in anger and shook her fists. "You're all bullying me. I don't care about you." Having said that, she quickly ran upstairs, kicking her high heels far away and almost hitting a few servants. Maid Unyung looked at the crowd with a complicated expression and followed her upstairs. After all, she had to take care of Jinxiu. Kim Jip silently looked upstairs with an indescribable look in his eyes. "Mr. Yang, Miss Lin, please excuse me." Although Jinxiu is well-behaved, she still can't accept this kind of thing. Park Cheon shook his head helplessly. "President, there's no need to be so anxious. Jinxiu isn't even 20 yet." Lin Ruashi couldn't help but chime in. She hated arranged marriages. Park Cheon didn't take it to heart. For rich families like ours, it's only beneficial if the heir can settle down as soon as possible. After all, the heir can spend more time studying and working. If it's delayed, the heart will become restless. But if Jinxiu doesn't like Kim Jip, wouldn't that be harming Jinxiu and Kim Jip? Lin Ruashi said. Park Cheon looked at Kim Jip and asked with a smile, "Kim Jip, do you like Jinxiu?" Kim Jip didn't answer. "I'll follow your orders, President." Park Cheon seemed to have expected this answer. He smiled. "My child, your father may be old-fashioned, but he's not as old-fashioned as you." Park Cheon turned to Yang Cheng. "Mr. Yang, do you remember when you helped me find a heart for transplant?" The other party was someone from the North Bio who disguised himself as Kim Jip. Yang Cheng nodded in surprise. "What's wrong? In fact, they didn't just want to frame us. It's also a very clever move. Kim Jip is Lawyer Kim's only son. Lawyer Kim has a lot of important information about the Star Moon Group and our family. If outsiders get their hands on these things, it's very likely that they'll restrict the Park family. They probably want to use this opportunity to make our family lose trust in the Kim family and at the same time arrest Kim Jip. That way, the North Bio can use their official power to pull the Kim family to their side. Lawyer Kim only has one son, Kim Jip, and I've watched him grow up. To our family, Kim Jip is not only my favorite junior, but also an indispensable part of our family. That's why I'm really grateful. Thanks to Mr. Yang, Kim Jip and the Kim family, especially our Park family, didn't suffer a disaster." At this point, Park Cheon bowed solemnly. Kim Jip, who was standing beside him, also lowered his head. Yang Cheng didn't expect there to be so many tricks up his sleeve. In fact, Park Cheon didn't mention that Lawyer Kim still had some evidence of his children's corruption. These things would be handed over to Jinxiu in the future. As long as Jinxiu had the evidence, Park Ji-yeon and the other elders wouldn't be able to do anything to her. Park Cheon had already arranged everything. As long as the Kim family became in-laws, Jinxiu would be able to sit on the sidelines. Everyone chatted in the living room for a while. Park Cheon didn't plan to rest early like usual. Looking at the time, it was almost midnight. Park Cheon suddenly ordered a servant to go upstairs and call Jinxiu down. "President, Jinxiu should be asleep by now. It's already so late." Lin Ruashi was surprised by Park Cheon's actions. Park Cheon smiled amiably. "She won't. Although she's angry at me, she won't slack when it comes to official business. This is a valuable quality of hers. I've made an appointment with her to officially complete the handover at midnight tonight." Official handover? Yang Chung and Lin Ruashi exchanged glances. They couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. Chapter 1136. Yang Chung pondered for a moment and realized that it must have something to do with the moon and stars. The crescent moon that he was asked to bring had never appeared before. Perhaps it was meant to be used in private within the Park family. After a while, Jinxiu, who was still pouting and sulking, came downstairs accompanied by Yunjing. She was dressed in a brown coat, and it was obvious that she was going out. Park Cheon did not hold a grudge against his granddaughter. He smiled and said, "Unyung, you don't have to follow. Jinxiu, come with grandfather." Jinxiu snorted softly and walked straight out of the house. Park Cheon shook his head helplessly and said to Yang Chung and Unyung, "Mr. Yang, Miss Lim, rest early." After that, Park Cheon and Kim Jip exchanged glances and left together. Outside the Park family's mansion, a black Mercedes-Benz G550 and two Mercedes-Benz GL Series SUVs were already waiting quietly. In addition to Kim Jip, Park Cheon also brought along a dozen tall and muscular bodyguards. Once Park Cheon and the other two had entered the G550, the three cars slowly headed north, gradually disappearing into the night. Yang Chung was curious about the hidden secrets of the Park family's handover. However, Park Cheon had deliberately chosen to leave at midnight with so many bodyguards. He must not want to attract too much attention, so Yang Chung did not probe further lest he invited a snub. Then, the couple went upstairs to wash up and went to bed. Unyung, on the other hand, waited patiently for Park Cheon and Jinxiu's return. More than an hour later, located in the northern part of Seoul, near the Bukhansan National Park, was a relatively sparsely built area. Three Mercedes-Benz cars slowly stopped in front of a gray skyscraper. This tall building looked a little old, and it was surrounded by some old buildings. The lights in the whole area were especially dim. Jinxiu was no longer in the mood to throw a tantrum with Park Cheon. She asked timidly, "Grandfather, where are we?" Park Cheon led Jinxiu out of the car and held her hand as they walked toward the skyscraper. "This is the Korea branch of the UBS Bank." "Branch of a branch?" "That's right. The UBS branch is near the financial center, and this is the original office of the UBS. Although it no longer has the function of handling business, it is still preserved as a storage location for the UBS customers." As they listened to Park Cheon's explanation, they arrived at the bottom of the building. After the security guards checked their IDs, they proceeded to conduct a body search on Park Cheon and Jinxiu. After that, a security guard said, "President Park, Miss Jinxiu, thank you for your cooperation. You're welcome to come, but I'm sorry, we can't let others pass." Park Cheon turned around. "Kim Jip, bring some in and stand guard outside. Only customers with reservations can enter. You don't have to go in." Kim Jip naturally had no objections. He faintly gave his bodyguards a few glances, and everyone dispersed to guard outside. Park Cheon dragged Jinxiu into the building and was greeted by a blonde, white, middle-aged man in a suit and leather shoes. The name tag on his chest read Donald, Vice President of UBS Korea Branch. "President Park, it's a pleasure to meet you. Miss Jinxiu, good evening." Donald bowed humbly. Park Cheon smiled. "Mr. Donald, please lead the way. We're here to see item number 1. "All right, this way, please." Donald did not waste any more time and led the two into the long corridor inside. As the most mysterious place for UBS to store all kinds of precious items, cash, jewelry, and other valuables, the interior of this seemingly old building was, in fact, exquisitely built. Almost every angle was covered with tight surveillance cameras, and there were even many powerful weapons hidden inside the building to guard against sudden attacks. As for the sturdiness of the interior of the building, a variety of alloy steel plates were, of course, hidden within. After passing through a few twists and turns, Junxiu and Park Cheon followed Donald to an elevator entrance. At the entrance, there was already a Caucasian staff member waiting for them with a smile. Donald invited the two into the elevator and closed the door. Junxiu realized that there was not a single button on the elevator. Donald took out a magnetic card from his pocket and gently swiped it on a display in the elevator. Immediately, the display displayed an English message that required fingerprint and iris scan to unlock. Donald aimed his fingerprint and iris at the display. After a scan, the display finally showed a floor that could be selected. Donald skipped everything and directly chose the last number, G20. After selecting it, the elevator finally moved. To Junxiu's surprise, the elevator was heading downwards. What about the G20? Could it be the 20th floor underground? Junxiu was startled. This building looked simple, but there were actually 20 floors hidden beneath it? For Junxiu, who had never seen much since she was a child, this was too shocking. The girl even forgot why she was there. Park Cheon, on the other hand, was calm and collected. It was obvious that he had been here before. When they reached the 20th floor underground, the elevator finally opened. In front of them was a vast expanse of white, with white tiles and a white ceiling. Surrounding them were white walls and white metal doors. Without exception, these metal doors were all equipped with display screens. Here, even the drop of a needle on the ground would be captured clearly. President, the item you wish to see is already in room 7. All you need to do is unlock it with your fingerprint and retina, and you'll be able to enter the room. I'll be waiting for both of you in the elevator. Please take your time. Donald nodded. Park Cheon thanked him and led Junxiu to room 7. At the door of the room, Park Cheon faced the display screen on the door and performed an iris scan to unlock the door. This was also the final check before entering the room. After he succeeded, Park Cheon opened the door and smiled at the curious Junxiu. Tonight, after we're done looking at our ancestral treasure, Grandpa will have them input your information into this system. In the future, you'll also be able to open the door here. Junxiu nodded nervously. Previously, Park Cheon did not mention what he wanted to see. Now, she could finally solve the mystery in her heart. After entering the room, Park Cheon locked the door from the inside. In the room, there were 2 chairs and a rectangular table. On the table, there was a lone safe. Park Cheon stepped forward and entered the password on the safe. This password is Grandpa's birthday. Tonight, we'll change it to your birthday, Junxiu. As he spoke, the safe was opened. Junxiu held her breath and widened her watery eyes. She stared straight at the object in front of her with a hint of doubt. It was a gray stone box about the size of 2 hands. It was cubic in shape and seemed to be made of stone or some kind of metal. Park Cheon saw Junxiu tilting her head in puzzlement. It reminded him of the first time he saw it, and how confused he was. Silly child, don't just look at it. This is the treasure that our family has protected us for generations. From now on, you'll be its owner. Go and touch it. Junxiu nodded and cautiously stepped forward to pick up the gray box. Junxiu was startled and let go of her hand. It's so cold. Why does it feel colder than ice? Why does it feel like stone, but it doesn't? Park Cheon smiled. It's okay. It has something to do with what's inside. Come, let Grandpa open it. As he spoke, Park Cheon took out a jewelry box from the inside pocket of his suit. When he opened it, it was the crescent pendant that Junxiu had previously owned. There was also a small pendant that looked like a star made of the same material. The star was also lustrous and looked like a 5-pointed star with light flowing around it. At this time, Junxiu also noticed that there were 2 shallow grooves on the top of the gray box. It was the perfect place to place the crescent and star. Could it be that the crescent and star were the keys to open the box? Park Cheon slowly inserted the crescent moon and the star into the box. It was a perfect fit. When they were successfully embedded, a blue gap appeared in the center of the originally impenetrable gray box. Junxiu looked carefully. This is the sacred treasure that the heavens have bestowed upon the Park family. Park Cheon took the box and spoke with a solemn expression. Then, with trembling hands, he lifted the lid of the box. Chapter 1137. The moment the box was opened, the entire room seemed to be dyed with a faint blue glow. After the glow dissipated, the true state of the box was gradually revealed. Jinxiu gulped and was so nervous that she did not dare to blink. When she saw what was inside the box clearly, she was instantly captivated. It was a strange blob, but in fact, Jinxiu could not understand what form it took to exist. It was a beautiful blue color, like the ice crystals on a snowy mountain, like the blue seawater, or more like a living water element, emitting a coldness that was obviously bone-chilling but not too piercing. In this transparent blue blob that seemed to be alive, there was an earthy yellow particle that exuded a dazzling yellow halo. It was particularly eye-catching. Jinxiu tried hard to see what the yellow particle was, but she could not describe it. It was like the stars in the sky, sometimes flashing with dazzling brilliance, sometimes disappearing without a trace. This blue blob and this yellow blob were like a magical work of art that made one unable to look away. After a long time, Park Cheon, who was standing on the side, said with emotion, "Child, isn't it beautiful?" "Yeah," Jinxiu murmured and nodded. "When I saw it for the first time, I stared at it for a long time, and I couldn't tear my eyes away." Park Cheon continued, "We don't know where the ancestors of the Park family got their hands on this treasure. According to my father, our ancestors met a god in the mountains, and he gave this treasure to our family. But it was only a legend. After all, it was too long ago, and no one knew the specific purpose of it. This treasure has been preserved for generations, and no one knows what it is used for. However, our Park family has been around for more than 1,000 years, and there has never been a setback that could knock us down. We have prospered for generations. I believe that it is this treasure that should not exist in this world that has given us the protection of the descendants of the Park family. There are no shameful secrets in the Park family. If there is one, it is this treasure that should not belong to this world." Jinxiu finally regained her attention and asked in a trembling voice, "Grandfather, this treasure, what is it?" Park Cheon smiled bitterly and shook his head. "Jinxiu, I really don't know. This thing has always been in this box. I don't know what material this box is made of. Our family has also had heads who are very knowledgeable in science, but even they could not analyze the element of this box. As for the object inside, there is no way to detect any information. He had no idea what the blue substance and the yellow particle in the center were. But I am sure that this is not something that has been discovered on Earth. It is very likely that it was brought by a meteorite from outer space. But there is no doubt that as long as it exists, the Park family will be able to survive for generations. This time, it is all thanks to the protection of this treasure." Jinxiu did not really believe Park Cheon's words. From the girl's point of view, it must be very mysterious, but it wasn't too shocking. Because as far as Jinxiu knew, Yang Chun and the others had abilities that ordinary people didn't know, so they must know things that ordinary people didn't know. Perhaps, if this thing was brought to Yang Chung, there might be a glimmer of an answer. However, Jinxiu also knew that this was the most important secret of the family. She should abide by her principles and not let others know about it. The Park family had a treasure that should not exist in this world. No wonder they were so careful to hide it 20 floors underground of the Swiss bank, and only the head of the family knew about it. Such an item was much more precious than ordinary priceless treasures. While Jinxiu was busy learning from Park Cheon how to master the various operations here, setting up new passwords, and so on, above the Swiss bank building in the silent night, a black figure flashed in the sky. The black robe fluttered in the wind. Under the black cloak was a mask with a green face and fangs, so the person's face could not be seen. If Yang Chung was here, he would definitely recognize that this person was the black-robed man who inexplicably rescued him in Australia. "It's just a small matter. Why do I have to do it myself?" The black-robed man snorted coldly. He was a little impatient, but helpless. He raised his hand slightly, and with a wave of his black-robed sleeve, a long blade formed from jet black, true yuan slashed at the side of the building below. Boom! Electric currents and sparks flew. The building could not withstand the domineering true yuan contained within. Like a sliced cheese, the seven-story building was on the verge of collapsing. The guards on duty outside, including Kim Jip, were all aghast. Everything happened too suddenly. There was no time to react. "Get out of the way," Kim Jip shouted when he saw the stones and cement begin to collapse. He showed a rare manic look as he leaped away. The black-robed man laughed strangely. He hid himself so well that no one noticed his existence. Seeing that the mortals were running for their lives, the black-robed man's figure flashed and entered the first floor of the building. In front of him was the entrance to the elevator. "Looks like it's not in the building. It's under the building." After chopping down most of the building, he still could not find the person or thing he was looking for. The black-robed man immediately noticed that there were floors underground. It was only because the Swiss bank's workmanship was excellent, and there were dozens of layers of alloy steel that blocked his divine sense. That was why it was difficult to use his divine sense to detect it. The black-robed man once again shot out a black, true yuan shockwave from his sleeve. It was like a grenade condensed from a black shadow and blasted open the elevator door. Rather than blasting the alloy steel plates layer by layer, the black-robed man felt that it was easier to break through the elevator. However, the moment the elevator exploded, the black-robed man realized that something bad had happened. Beep, 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 beep. The intense, drawn-out siren resounded throughout the entire surrounding area. Not only that, a large number of warning lights lit up around the building and began to illuminate every inch of the building. Annoying. "Looks like I have to speed up." The black-robed man knew that a large number of people would arrive soon. This place was not far from the city, and the transmission power of the alarm could probably cover a radius of dozens of miles. The Swiss bank had definitely put in a lot of effort in order to prepare for an emergency. After all, this storage space was their core. Without further ado, the black-robed man's figure flashed and entered the elevator. With a sudden stomp, the elevator was directly pierced through. The black-robed man's figure dropped rapidly and flashed towards a target. In the guest room on the second floor of the Park family's mansion. Because his anger towards Yang Chung had not subsided, Yang Chung could only lie pitifully on the floor for the past few days. He had to pretend to be enjoying it and sleep comfortably with a strong backbone. Originally, Yang Chung did not sleep too deeply. By the time the urgent alarm reached here, it was so weak that most people could not hear it clearly. However, Yang Chung was sensitive to special sounds such as the alarm. Even without his cultivation, he could still sense it. If it was any other day, Yang Chung would not have bothered to pay attention to such an alarm. But today was different. The alarm was clearly coming from the north. Moreover, tonight was a special night. Park Cheon and Jinxiu were heading north and had yet to return. Abruptly, Yang Chung got up from the mattress on the floor and quickly put on a simple set of clothes. His movement woke Lin Ruoshi, who was sleeping soundly under the blanket. She rubbed her eyelids in a daze and mumbled, "What are you doing?" "I was just about to fall asleep in the middle of the night. Hee, I'm sorry." "Ruoshi baby, go back to sleep. I heard the alarm coming from the north, so I went out to see what's going on. I'm worried that something happened to Jinxiu and the others," Yang Chung said. "What could happen? You have so many people with you. Don't tell me you're upset that you're sleeping on the floor and want to go out and find a woman," Lin Ruoshi said suspiciously. Yang Chung wanted to cry, but no tears came out. How could he relate it to him looking for a woman? Even if he wanted to, he still needed a woman. "I'll explain to you when I get back. I'm really worried now." With that, Yang Chung hurriedly ran out from the balcony and, with a leap, disappeared into the night sky. Lin Ruoshi sat up and patted the blanket angrily. "Stupid Yang Chung, you ran out without telling me." However, she could not find any words to reprimand this thick-skinned guy. Lin Ruoshi kicked her leg a few times before lying down again. She hugged the blanket angrily and went back to sleep. She felt that she was going to lose sleep soon. Chapter 1138. Park Cheon and Jinxiu were still in the midst of setting up a new password in the Swiss bank storage facility when a piercing alarm blared in their ears. Jinxiu's pretty face turned pale. "Grandfather, what happened?" Park Cheon was also startled, but quickly calmed down. He swiftly closed the box, removed the stars and crescent, and placed the box in the safe. "It's an alarm. The Swiss bank may have been hacked. Let's get out of here." The two hurried out of the room and were about to head for the elevator when they suddenly froze on the spot. At the entrance of the elevator, the vice president, Donald, who had just greeted them with a smile on his face, was already lying on the ground, bleeding profusely. Donald's face was filled with horror and despair. His eyes were wide open and his 7 orifices were bleeding. In his hand, he was holding a pistol. Unfortunately, it seemed that he had died a horrible death before he could retaliate. Beside Donald's corpse, the man in the black robe with the fanged mask slowly turned his gaze in their direction. "Found it. You've hidden it well." Black Robe walked toward Park Cheon and Jinxiu. A hoarse voice came from behind the mask. Who are you?" Park Cheon asked in horror when he realized Black Robe's target. Black Robe smiled sarcastically. "I'm not interested in killing mortals. Get out of my way. Take what I want, and I'll let you live." The man in the black robe spoke in Mandarin. Park Cheon was completely at a loss, but Jinxiu's face paled. "Grandfather, he's trying to steal our family's treasure." Park Cheon's face was pale. The situation was far beyond the old man's understanding, but he still nervously stood in front of Jinxiu. "Humph." Black Robe could not be bothered. In a flash, he was already at the door of the room. A black ripple rippled and bombarded the secret steel door. At the same time, the display screen on the door instantly shattered into pieces, and the steel door was also forcibly twisted and opened. Creak! Park Cheon and Jinxiu stood rooted to the spot. The ear-piercing sound of steel twisting made their scalps tingle. Black Robe kicked open the damaged door, entered the room, and picked up the safe on the table. With a disdainful chuckle, Black Robe fiercely broke the safe. The huge force directly broke the safe. After the gray box was revealed, Black Robe laughed heartily as he picked it up. It didn't take me much effort to get it." Black Robe studied it for a while before turning to Park Cheon. "The groove on it should be a star and a crescent moon. Hand it over." Park Cheon was livid. "How did you know? Who the hell are you?" "You talk too much. If you don't hand it over, I'll take it myself." As he spoke, the black figure was already in front of Park Cheon. With a flick of his sleeves, Park Cheon's coat was torn to shreds. The crescent moon and star keys flew out and were grabbed by Black Robe. Park Cheon was scared out of his wits when the green-faced fang mask was right in front of his face. The old man's nerves finally gave in, and he sucked in a breath of cold air before fainting. "Grandfather! Help! Help!" Jinxiu cried. How could a girl who was not even 20 years old face such a terrifying situation? She helped Park Cheon to sit on the ground as tears streamed down her cheeks. She was afraid that Black Robe would kill them like Donald. Black Robe, on the other hand, was not in the mood to kill ordinary people. It seemed that he did not want to cause too much trouble. Other than Donald, who was about to attack with a gun, he did not hurt anyone along the way. Now that he had obtained what he was looking for, Black Robe was like a black whirlwind, intending to escape from the elevator tunnel. But before Black Robe could rush out of the ground, a scorching and ferocious aura majestically poured into the passageway from above. As it got closer, he realized that it was a blazing pillar of fire that rushed in from above. True Samadhi fire. Black Robe's heart skipped a beat, and he quickly retreated to the ground. Although his cultivation would not be greatly damaged by the true Samadhi fire, the heavenly fire was still extraordinary. If he had to endure it for a short while, it would be very uncomfortable and he would inevitably suffer some minor injuries. The intruder was Yang Chung, who had arrived in time. It was only after Yang Chung found the opening in the elevator that he realized that the Black Robe underground was the strange person who had saved him back then. Of course, Yang Chung did not think that this guy was a kind-hearted person. Otherwise, he would not have left the masked man alone after defeating him and would not have made such a big fuss to steal his things. Black Robe retreated to the center of the basement. When he saw who it was, he could not help but let out a sinister laugh. "I was wondering who it was. So it's the Pluto that I saved." Yang Cheng looked at the mess in the basement and glanced at Jinxiu and Park Chiyoung. After confirming that the girl was fine, he felt slightly relieved. Jinxiu, on the other hand, was overjoyed. She looked at Yang Cheng excitedly and choked on her words. Yang Cheng nodded at Jinxiu in relief. Then, he carefully looked at the strange person hidden under the black robe and smiled evilly. To thank you for helping me back then, I've decided to return the favor today. You want to return the favor? Then why are you blocking my way? My repayment is that you made that girl cry. I won't kill you today, but you have to leave the thing behind. Yang Cheng had heard the commotion from above and knew that this guy was here to steal the Park family's heirloom. What a joke. Do you really think that your title of Pluto is so useful in the eyes of humans? I'm already doing you a great favor by not killing you today. You don't even have the strength to protect yourself, and you still want to spare my life. Black Robe laughed maniacally. Yang Cheng was not annoyed. You could try and see if you can leave here with the thing. Yang Cheng's confident look was not a bluff. Although he could not see through his opponent's cultivation, after the epiphany of the Samadhi true fire, he had refined a large number of pills to aid his cultivation. Although the effects of those pills were minimal, it was still much faster than before. The strange immortal cauldron had also fused with his natal spirit and was constantly absorbing and refining the heaven and earth energy in his dantian. At the same time, these days, Yang Cheng had gradually understood some of the special functions of the immortal cauldron and gradually mastered them. Some of the magical functions of the immortal cauldron had never been used. Although his cultivation was still at the Tai Ching Heavenly Thunder Tribulation, the degree of consolidation had greatly increased. After all, the gap between each 9 Heavenly Thunder Tribulation was huge, and there was a lot of room for improvement. Facing this black-robed man was a good opportunity for him to sharpen his knife and show his edge. The black-robed man seemed to have heard the biggest absurdity in the world. After a few strange laughs, he said in a cold voice, "It seems that some people will not understand where their position is without suffering a little." After saying that, the black-robed man's whole body moved without any wind. A strange black mist-like true essence began to flow rapidly and surrounded the black-robed man. Yang Cheng calmly released the Samadhi true fire. The speed of the transformation of the heaven and earth energy was much faster than before. In the face of this gloomy true essence, the Samadhi true fire seemed to be in high spirits and was exceptionally hot and golden. "Little guy, you will regret saying such ignorant words." The black-robed figure turned into a black shadow, mixed with a large amount of black true essence, and blasted towards Yang Cheng's body. In the contrast of the surrounding white environment, it was like a black shock wave flashing past in an instant. Yang Cheng did not dare to slack off. After all, the opponent's strength was also unfathomable. If it was him in Australia, he would not be his opponent at all. Now, the Samadhi true fire around his body condensed into a thick, giant flame shield. The crimson flame expanded like a ferocious beast, facing the black shadow head-on. Bang! There was a deafening explosion, as if the entire basement was about to collapse. Yang Cheng took a small step back, and the giant shield formed by the Samadhi true fire dimmed a little. The black-robed man laughed loudly, and with a refraction of his entire body, he actually slipped out of the elevator passage through this collision. Damn, is he trying to escape? Yang Cheng really thought that this guy was going to teach him a lesson, but he did not expect that he was not in the mood to continue fighting. What Yang Cheng did not know was that the black-robed man really wanted to fight, but Yang Cheng was not an opponent that he could take the initiative to choose, so he could only swallow his anger and leave. However, Yang Cheng would not let the black-robed man do as he wished. In terms of speed, he was not at a disadvantage at all. His compatibility with the heaven and earth created an even faster movement speed for Yang Cheng. Chapter 1139. In the blink of an eye, Yang Cheng had already disappeared from the ground and appeared in front of Black Robe, blocking his path in midair. The sky above Beihan Mountain National Park was filled with biting cold winds and deep darkness. Other than the bright moon hanging high in the sky and the rolling dark clouds, there was no sign of life. No one noticed the confrontation between Yang Chung and Black Robe. Your cultivation is not lower than mine, so why are you running? Could it be that you have some misgivings and can't fight me? Yang Chung asked with narrowed eyes, puzzled. Black Robe let out a low roar. He was truly angry at Yang Cheng's relentless pursuit. Little guy, don't test Grandpa's patience, I said. Hand over the things you took, and I'll let you go. It looks like I won't stop until I knock you down. Black Robe laughed sinisterly. His robe fluttered, and a large amount of thick, ink-like true essence poured out like mercury, like a black curtain covering the sky, surging towards Yang Chung. The samadhi true fire around Yang Cheng's body raged, contending against the large amount of black true essence. The fire snakes swallowed and spat, unwilling to be outdone. But gradually, Yang Chung discovered that the reason Black Robe had emitted such a large amount of true essence was not to attack him. When he realized that the situation was not good, Yang Chung suddenly realized that Black Robe had already disappeared in front of him. But the surrounding true essence was still surging, and Yang Chung was sure that Black Robe was just hiding within it. His ears were filled with the wailing of ghosts and the mournful cries of countless ghosts. The eerie atmosphere was enough to make a timid person feel like their liver was being torn apart. The samadhi true fire wrapped around Yang Cheng's body seemed to be the nemesis of this cold and gloomy true essence. It swept away a large amount of true essence, but he still could not find any trace of Black Robe. My netherworld baleful ghost mist doesn't taste good, does it? Black Robe's voice came from within the mist. Yang Chung snorted coldly and tried his best to charge into the sky. He was like a crimson pillar of flame that was about to break through the sky. But what surprised Yang Chung was that this so-called baleful ghost cloud was inseparable. As he moved, it also rose. Black Robe seemed to be having fun. He laughed strangely and said, "It's useless. I haven't even made a move yet. How can I let a little guy like you escape?" Yang Chung was about to say that since they were going to make a move, they should hurry up. However, what happened next made him shut his mouth. Boom! A violent explosion resounded in the midst of the ghost, fiendish fog. Yang Cheng's mind was greatly shaken. This explosion actually came from beneath him. The originally flowing clouds and mist suddenly spouted true essence out of thin air. It was as if a huge rock had been thrown into a lake, causing a huge splash. But the explosion of this black true essence was far more ferocious than the true essence he had encountered before. Even though Yang Cheng's body was far more resilient than a cultivator of this level, he was still shaken to the point of being dizzy. It was as if the skin on his body was being torn apart inch by inch. His flesh and blood were cracking at this moment, and his clothes were also torn apart by this shock. Damn, what the hell is this? Yang Chung cursed and began to work hard to drive the samadhi true fire to break through the cloud. But the baleful ghost mist was controlled by Black Robe. With a thought, it followed closely. Boom! Boom! The continuous explosion of the black true essence made it difficult for Yang Chung to move forward. He could only use the samadhi true fire to resist. In this kind of cold, true essence, any other form of true essence could not compare to the heavenly fire of extreme yang. But the explosion of the black true essence seemed to be endless. Yang Cheng's body was tossed and turned in the cloud, unable to run out of this range. It's useless. My baleful ghost mist can block the flow of true essence. Now that the cold spirit is abundant here, my baleful ghost mist can be said to have endless shadow explosions. Although your cultivation is not lower than mine, you are still too inexperienced. How can a greenhorn like you immediately understand a battle above the tribulation stage? Black Robe's sharp laughter rang out. The true essence move, called shadow explosion, was still in the midst of the explosion. Yang Chung felt as if he was in a minefield that was surrounded by landmines. No matter how he ran or jumped, he could not avoid these explosions. Realizing that it was quite difficult to break through this baleful ghost mist, Yang Chung no longer persisted. If this continued, it would only make it difficult for his recovery to keep up with the damage he sustained. In the end, he would be seriously injured and defeated. If it were not for Yang Cheng's recent improvement in cultivation and his enlightenment of the Samadhi true fire, he would not be able to contend with it. Since I can't get out, I'll keep it. With this thought in mind, Yang Cheng finally summoned the strange immortal cauldron that he had never had the chance to use in battle. Once the dark gray cauldron in his dantian was released, it immediately conveyed a strong sense of excitement. Yang Cheng could feel that the beast soul in the immortal cauldron was stirring. It seemed to be quite interested in the thick black, ink-like, baleful ghost mist outside. Once the dark gray cauldron was released, Black Robe, who was hidden in the black fog, also let out a sound of surprise. This is... Before Black Robe could react, the giant cauldron had already begun to wreak havoc. Through the spiritual connection between Yang Cheng and the beast soul in the giant cauldron, he perceived that there were two key points in the usage of the giant cauldron. One was to absorb, and the other was to refine. This giant cauldron was not only used to refine elixirs. According to Yang Cheng's current understanding, as long as it contained spiritual qi, the denser the spiritual qi, regardless of the attribute, it could be absorbed through the giant cauldron. However, whether or not the absorbed spiritual qi could be refined into what one wanted depended on the master's luck and magical powers. Absorb! Yang Cheng held the giant cauldron in one hand and communicated with his divine sense and the beast soul of the giant cauldron with the power of heaven and earth. The giant cauldron began to expand wildly. In the blink of an eye, the giant cauldron had expanded to its original size. The huge body of the cauldron was far away from Yang Cheng's body. From the mouth of the giant cauldron, a dark gray vortex formed. The surrounding baleful ghost mist was the embodiment of the thick spiritual qi between heaven and earth. When the giant cauldron opened its bloody mouth, it was like a hungry and thirsty diner, treating all the spiritual qi of the netherworld as a gluttonous delicacy, and began to absorb wantonly. The inky black, baleful ghost mist finally stopped producing shadow explosions. This was because the entire mist was no longer under Black Robe's control. No, impossible. How could it be this monster? Amid Black Robe's screams and screams, the black mist was being sucked into the cauldron at the speed of a tornado. Yang Cheng could clearly feel that the beast soul in the giant cauldron was boiling with excitement. It was emitting a thick, murderous aura, as if it wanted to swallow the source of the black mist, Black Robe, alive. However, hearing Black Robe's shouts, Yang Cheng suddenly realized that this fellow seemed to know the origin of this giant cauldron. Black Robe did not care too much. He knew that if he continued to be sucked in like this, his true yuan would be exhausted. He could not understand why Yang Cheng would possess this legendary magical weapon that had been forgotten in the long river of history. He only knew that it was best to escape. The baleful ghost mist began to be sucked away. Black Robe's body finally appeared a few hundred feet away from Yang Cheng. Yang Cheng saw that Black Robe was about to turn around and escape. How could he let him have his way? Don't even think about it. With a thought from Yang Cheng, the giant cauldron obediently smashed towards Black Robe. Originally, the flying speed of the giant cauldron was far slower than Black Robe's. However, Black Robe felt a huge suction force that forcefully pulled him back. Don't kill me. Black Robe finally felt a huge panic. The coldness of death made him start to beg for mercy. He knew very well that if he was sucked into this giant cauldron, he would not even have the chance to escape. However, the divine power of the giant cauldron far exceeded Black Robe's imagination. Even Yang Cheng did not expect that this giant cauldron would be unprecedentedly powerful in actual combat. After absorbing a large amount of spiritual qi from the baleful ghost mist, the giant cauldron appeared to be extremely energetic. All that could be seen was the vague shadow of a dark and blurry giant beast. Two pairs of fleshy wings flapped, and a huge body suddenly emerged from the giant cauldron. The fierce beast opened its bloody mouth. With a roar, it had already clamped down on Black Robe and dragged him back into the giant cauldron. In a flash, No. Black Robe used all his true yuan to try and resist, but found that his true yuan was only being sucked away like a tide. He was completely unable to resist and was submerged. Oh no. Yangqing also did not expect that his move would be so fierce. However, he still had to find out more about this giant cauldron, and he also had to take out Black Robe's treasure. He could not let Black Robe be swallowed by the giant cauldron. Chapter 1140. Fortunately, the giant cauldron had already recognized its master, and the beast's soul inside had already surrendered. Sensing that Yangqing did not want to refine Black Robe immediately, the giant cauldron quickly retracted its strength. Black Robe felt that he was about to be thrown into the giant cauldron and turned into a puddle of pure spiritual energy, but he suddenly stopped. His body was absorbed by the giant cauldron and floated in the air, no longer falling. Even though he had temporarily survived, he could feel the fierce beast in the giant cauldron ready to attack, as if it was going to swallow him at any time. Black Robe did not dare to let out a fart. Oh no, Lord Pluto, great God, spare me. I really have no intention of offending you. Black Robe began to cry for his father and mother. This change was so fast that Yangqing felt that this guy's skin was probably thicker than his. In order to survive, he knew that he could not win, so he began to beg for mercy. Yangqing despised him slightly. No wonder women always rolled their eyes at him and said that he was shameless. Sure enough, thick-skinned people were sometimes not pleasing to the eye. Let me ask you, do you know what this cauldron is? Hearing this, Black Robe could not help but ask in surprise, Lord Pluto, do you know what this is? Nonsense. Why would I ask you if I know? Although I don't know what this thing is called, I know that it can kill you. Tell me. Black Robe's body trembled, and he could not care about these questions. This is a top-grade immortal artifact, the legendary Chaos Cauldron. Chaos Cauldron? Yangqing frowned. Speak in detail. Yes. Black Robe's voice trembled. The reason why it is called legendary is because this is the first time I've seen this cauldron. Legend has it that the primordial great mystical beings worked together to kill the primordial chaos beast, one of the 4 great ferocious beasts of the primordial era. Then, the primordial chaos beast soul was erased and sealed in the primordial dark underworld iron furnace. The chaos beast was originally a fierce beast born from heaven and earth. It had an infinite lifespan and could swallow all things and refine all things that contained spiritual energy. A cauldron made from its beast soul would become a top-grade immortal artifact upon success. It was just that nobody could subdue the beast soul of the beast of chaos, and they had to worry about the cultivator's primordial spirit being devoured. Hence, it was suppressed by the primordial gods in an unknown place. Since the primordial age, nobody had ever seen this cauldron. From the looks of it, there's no doubt that this is the Chaos Cauldron. However, with the passage of time, the beast soul in this cauldron is very weak. I'm afraid it can only reach the level of a middle-grade celestial artifact. When Yangqing found out that his huge cauldron was a top-grade immortal artifact, his eyes immediately lit up, but he was a little confused. Primordial age? Are you talking about when the gods descended on Earth? Of course not. That was only a few tens of thousands of years ago. The immemorial period that this lowly one was talking about was the period when the real immortals existed. It was already difficult to calculate the actual year. It was really too long ago. The great mediums of that time were the real cultivators who could move mountains and fill the seas. It was said that they had already left Earth and entered another world, but it was a pity that I couldn't see it with my own eyes later on. The cultivators of Huaxia relied on some of the cave ruins left behind by the primordial gods to gradually develop. The highest cultivation level was only around the Shangqing Heavenly Thunder Tribulation, and it was really difficult to compare with the cultivators of the primordial age. Since you said that no one dared to use this cauldron since it was cast and no one had seen it before, how do you know that this cauldron is the Chaos Cauldron? Yangqing asked suspiciously. The Black Robe laughed softly and said, "This lowly one is not talented. Although my cultivation level is low, I still have a lifespan of tens of thousands of years. I'm still relatively close to the primordial age, so I know a little about the various rumors of the primordial age. Moreover, this chaos beast has always been said to have two pairs of wings, a blurry face with no facial features for short legs, and a huge body. Many cultivators also know about this. Moreover, if this is not the chaos cauldron, how can it have such a devouring of the true essence and the evil chi of living beings? Yang Cheng was shocked. You have a lifespan of tens of thousands of years. What the hell are you? As far as Yang Cheng knew, even if a cultivator's lifespan reached the tribulation stage, it should not be tens of thousands of years. The gods only had a lifespan of tens of thousands of years, and they had to rely on the continuous reincarnation, often cutting off hundreds of years in between to restore their divinity to achieve eternal life. But this guy actually had a lifespan of tens of thousands of years. Then didn't he experience the battle between the cultivators of Huaxia and the gods tens of thousands of years ago? This, when it came to his own identity, the black robe finally hesitated, as if he did not dare to say it out loud, but also as if it was very difficult for him to say it. It's a long story. Your Majesty Pluto, why don't you let this lowly one go? This lowly one has already answered your doubts. Yang Cheng suddenly exerted his strength and sucked a big mouthful of the black robe's black true essence into the cauldron. I told you to say it, so just say it. Do you think you have a right to bargain with me? The black robe complained incessantly, even thinking of committing suicide. If he had known this would happen, he would have taken the opportunity to use the netherworld ghost murderous cloud to entangle Yang Cheng and escape. In desperation, the black robe could only speak carefully. This lowly one is actually. Before he could finish his words, he was interrupted by a strong and bone-chilling pressure. It was as if an ice blade from the ninth heaven had fallen, penetrating into the bones of Yang Cheng and the black robe. This fearful pressure caused Yang Cheng's expression to instantly change. Above the deep night sky, an indifferent and cold yet incomparably clear voice of a woman sounded. Can't even do such a small thing, useless thing. Who is it? Yang Cheng broke out in a cold sweat, because this kind of pressure, was something he had never felt before. Compared to before his cultivation had increased, when he encountered that masked man, it was many times more terrifying. It was a world of difference. The black robe stopped talking and shouted in surprise and joy. Your Excellency, Athena, save me. Yeah, Tien? Nah. Yang Cheng suddenly came to his senses. This pressure, was it not the pressure brought by the god's law of space? But even Poseidon had not reached this realm, so Yang Cheng almost did not react. With this kind of divine power, Yang Cheng once again realized that different paths lead to the same goal. Any kind of cultivation, when cultivated to an extremely profound realm, would be unprecedentedly powerful. Even if this Athena did not make a move, her law of space was already giving him a huge pressure. He looked up in shock, only to see a woman dressed in a long black silk dress, like the goddess of the night, quietly standing in the sky. This was the first time Yang Cheng saw this goddess of war, who was known to be on par with Zeus, the pillar of the Protoss race. Her smooth, jet-black hair hung down to her hips, her jet-black eyes that were like the deep sea, and her jet-black silk dress that was not even a speck of dust set off the goddess's snow-white skin and perfect curves. A pair of snow-white bare feet were faintly discernible in the long dress, translucent and exquisite. Her white hands were placed in front of her, delicate like carved jade. Her appearance was difficult to describe, as if all kinds of exquisite facial features were fused together in a vague sense of beauty. Yang Cheng believed that he had a strong resistance to beautiful women, not to mention Lin Ruoxi, Jane, Kristen, and other women who had already reached the peak of beauty. His other female confidants were also beautiful and charming. But Athena's beauty was not seen, but felt. One could not tell what was beautiful about her, and even words could not describe it. But as long as one looked into her eyes, it could make one's soul tremble. Yang Chung even suspected that this was a beauty that could make one feel beautiful just by looking into her eyes. What was certain was that for this goddess, beauty was only a side effect. Her strength did not require beauty to make up for it. However, what surprised Yang Chun was that Athena's appearance was obviously that of an Asian. This was the first time he saw a god reincarnating into the body of an Oriental. Although I've always been curious when I can see you, your appearance doesn't seem to be something to be happy about. Yang Chung smiled bitterly. There was no emotion in Athena's eyes. She looked at Yang Chung as if she was looking at air, almost without focus. Hades, since you have a divine spark, you are a member of the god race. I won't kill you. That idiot was sent by me to get what I want. Let him go. Yang Chung narrowed his eyes and asked, So, it was also your instruction to save me last time? Since you think I'm a member of the god race, why did you have to save me secretly? Athena was expressionless and said lightly, I don't want to answer your question. You just need to do as I say. You have no choice.